So I set up on the screen. I'll explain it. I'm sure you get it. So it's came to public. Well, no, it's just that. Oh. Nice to see you. Okay. I see you, Don. Yeah. How are you? I can see you.
City Council regular meeting. In the actions we are about to take this meeting, I'd like to remind us of our guiding principles. Are we raising the bar in all of our actions? Are we honoring the past, but not living the past?
Are we not recording? Mr. Mayor,
Is your mic?
Mr. Mayor, apologies, we're not recording, I don't believe.
Yeah,
Can we
is
get-
your mic on tonight?
Can you make sure your microphone is on?
Maybe pull. I think just because.
I can't hear it.
We don't want, we have a,
No.
Mm-mm. Maybe,
Lights on.
I think
Okay.
it's just to be, we have a lot more people here. to know you can see that.
Mic's on. Can you hear me?
No.
Okay. Speak up.
All right, let's start over. Good evening. I'd like to welcome you and call to order the Port Orchard City Council meeting for February 24th. And I'd like to remind us of our guiding principles and the actions that we're about to take. Are we raising the bar in all of our actions? Are we honoring the past but not living in the past? Are we building positive connections with our community and our partners? And is the decision-making process building a diverse, equitable, and inclusive community? Please stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance.
That might not work.
Council members, we have a published agenda. Are there any special amendments? This will be a moment in time. It's an IMG, is that what you're referring to?
I second it.
Okay, so you're removing consent item C and making it business item H. Okay. Motion and a second. All in favor of removing consent item C?
Aye.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Rose, the second by Councilmember Trevor, because the agenda as amended. Favor, please say aye.
Right.
Has a statement of the business items.
actually, it's before public comment, Mr. Mayor, on the business item agenda this evening for item A, we have the proposed rezone. And just a reminder to the public present and to council that we will be unable to take additional public comment on that topic because we closed the public hearing at our last meeting. So if someone were to begin to speak about that, I would have to intervene and have the clerk turn off the mic. But members of the public who are present who want to speak to that are free to do so at the end of the meeting when we have our second public comment period.
Then this, the have a comment period, if you're wishing to address the council, please set in the microphone.
Excuse me. So I signed up for both of us here. That's okay.
Oh, you don't have to sign up.
Oh.
This is just if you want information back,
Oh,
a follow up, but yeah.
okay, fine. Well, here you go. Well, thank you. I'm gonna let Corinne join me. I signed up both of us together, hoping to get some extra time. I have a bit of a recovery issue
with a flu, so I might lose my voice in the process here. But I want to thank you for allowing us to speak to you, members of the council and mayor and staff. I understand that tonight there was going to be some folks here talking about challenges in permitting small business, et cetera. And I thought it would be, of course, Steve Seago and Corinne Haydock at 3711 Southwest Padrono and South, what we call Brigadoon out in the country. And we own properties in Bremerton, or excuse me, in Bremerton, but in Portraiture at Bay Street, the Ross Point properties, et cetera. We host the WWCA to help keep them alive for a while. But as you all know, those of you who do know me or have been a part of this community for a while, we've spent a lot of our time, resources, energy, vision, passion, dreams to try to support this community every way we could think of. We've been doing this before I came back to South Kitsap. As you know, Corinne has been a part of too many things to list when it comes to, service to this community and nonprofits and community organizations. And so many of you have worked with her over the years that know that. We also had a restaurant called the Dock Bar and Eatery that after 9 years of trying to keep people employed at our expense, we knew we couldn't keep that going. So we closed that, but we understand the process of working with a business downtown as well. And I just want you to know, this is not something I'm proud of, but we've never made a dime. We've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars here, but we did it with the passion and a commitment, a belief and a vision. And, nobody has to, eyes were open. But we also know that there's still some opportunities, challenges, and we're part of some of those. Some of you might know that we're currently trying to restore the historic DNR Theater, Dragonfly, and have made much progress. Hopefully soon our kids can move in, because if they can't, they're going to have to move in with us, and we have enough grandkids in our neighborhood right now. So, but we are working really hard to get them into a space that they should have moved in March. And that yellow light means 1 minute. 1 minute. Okay. Can I take her time too? Mm-hmm. No. Oh, well.
Well, you can talk. She can talk.
Oh, well, I'll just set you up then. So I just want to tell you that, we about a year and a half, 2 years ago, as we're trying to permit the theater, and we had completed, thanks to the community support and largesse, the building out of the alleyway there. And we were trying to get a certificate of occupancy, and we asked for the city contacted us and said, we want to meet you on site. There's some issues we have. We met there with your building inspector, who pointed out to me, surprisingly, that we had improved our neighbor's property, not just ours. And I was confused by what that meant. And I said, I don't understand. And she showed me a map, and it showed right down the middle of the alley a line. And she said, well, there's the property line, and now you're over here and at the stage, and that Cal Soy building next door is, part of your project. I said, that's not true. You're wrong. Why do you believe that? Well, here's the map. And I looked at it and I said, well, that's the reflection of the shadow of the building next door down the middle of the alley. And instead of her saying, oops, sorry, it was, here's something else I'm going to ding you with. And off we went with this process. And I knew then we had a problem in the city. And I got to say, I love Nick Bond. I love the staff. You guys are great. But there's something afoot that we need to resolve. And I have confidence that we can fix this. I do. I know other people here might want to share their stories, but I'm an optimist. And Corinne, do you want to share anything else in addition? And there's some notes.
I didn't wear my glasses, so I can't even read your notes. But I will say that, that there is a struggle with a lot of businesses, individuals, and organizations. And some of them are here tonight. Some could not be here tonight. But I even heard a few individuals express concern about expressing their concerns for fear of retribution. Now, that may be true or not. Retribution, not so much from you guys, but maybe from potential staff. And they didn't feel like they could come forward and share. And that's really unfortunate. So, and just reiterate what Steve says, we believe in this community. We put our heart and soul and a lot of funds, a lot of time, a lot of effort. And, we haven't made any money. We seriously have not made any money. And that may be poor judgment on our part, but we keep trying. And then there are for us and a lot of other people like us. And it's been worse the last 2 years. It just gets continually worse. So I'll leave it at that, because there's a lot of other people I think that want to speak up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Staff, thank you.
Steve's nicer than I am.
My name is Ray Klein, and I'm here tonight to highlight a great injustice taking place right here in Port Orchard. A renegade city employee, Deputy DCD Director Angela Garcia, is weaponizing the law against small business, and you, Mayor Apatanza, are allowing it to happen. Building codes are supposed to exist to promote safety, but under this administration, they're being used to stop all positive economic activity. Angela and her team receive ever-growing salaries, benefits, paid time off to perpetrate this injustice against us. We believe the goal is to grow bureaucracy, hiring employees to perform tasks that common sense dictates do not need to be performed. With the law weaponized and over-applied, the DCD has created an artificial workload. The side effect is the decimation of lives, the destruction of investments in this community, and the punishment of innocence. We have many stories tonight about the victims of DCD, but what you won't hear are the stories of the businesses that simply gave up, the ones that quit early, the ones that went out of business silently. You won't hear from the people currently fighting the city because they're terrified of retribution. I'm afraid too. Will I suffer from speaking tonight? I'll let you know. Regardless, we can't cower from bullies. We're demanding an attitude adjustment from the mayor and the DCD. Follow the intent of the law. This doesn't mean using codes to block all improvements. Provide guardrails for basic safety, sure, but exercise common sense and judgment. Mayor is a role for a leader. Our mayor is a coward hiding behind an expensive, wasteful bureaucracy. We don't need more so-called experts. We need regular people who exercise common sense. Overregulation is killing activity everywhere in America, and right now, Port Orchard is leading the way. I'm not here just to complain. I'm here to show you a better way. I brought a gift for council members. This is an economics book, Build, Baby, Build, by economist Brian Kaplan. Please read it. It creates a clear case for why we need to deregulate. It's very informative and mostly pictures. The mayor wants to hire more people. This is the exact opposite of what we need. The city needs to spend less, do less, and let the citizens make a better Port Orchard. Please change course before the damage becomes irreversible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
How are you? Thank you.
Council, mayor, staff, audience. From disaster to nightmare. My story of building a home in Port Orchard.
I know who you are.
Clancy Donlin, former council member. On August 2nd, 2022, my home was destroyed by fire at 205 Taylor Street, and I lost everything. City representatives quickly arrived, posting no trespassing signs and taping off the area. Angela Garcia, a city official, assured me I'd receive preferential treatment for rebuilding permits if I informed the DCD that my loss was due to disaster, and that gave me hope. After 9 exhausting months, I finally received the permit and construction began January 2nd, 2025. For 8 months, progress was steady and smooth. I have the first one up. That one, yes. That one. Yes. Okay, good. Then on September 2nd, I noticed Angela Garcia and 2 others carrying a stop work sign marching solemnly in front of my project. They said a complaint had been filed about tree removal and demanded all work cease. I explained we'd only cleared saplings with permission from her supervisor, Nick Bond. She insisted I needed a special permit and dismissed my explanation, ending the conversation abruptly. If only she had contacted me first. From that moment forward, the city's approach shifted. Inspections became frequent and increasingly scrutinized. Progress stalled, and the atmosphere felt charged with hostility and suspicion. Each new inspection brought costly issues and lengthy delays. It was hard not to feel targeted, as if the city's actions were less about regulation and more about retaliation for our earlier disagreement. Could I have the next one up, please? The biggest setback came when the city suddenly required my home to be pinned into the property, a $125,000 11th hour decision. Who can afford that? Can any of you write a check like that and think nothing of it? I can't. An expense that should have been addressed much earlier in the permitting or construction. Instead, by waiting so long, options were limited and the cost soared. Altogether, the city has added nearly $250,000 to my construction costs, with work suspended for 7 months and still loan interest piled up nearly $50,000. My fiance and I have been separated by distance, unable to live together until the home is finished. The ongoing delays forced me to postpone major surgery, and the stress took a toll on my health, even sending me to the ER with dangerously high blood pressure at 200. In summary, the city's actions have affected my finance, my personal life, and my health. This is bureaucratic bullying at its finest, and I fear further retaliation for speaking out. We urge the DCD to discover customer service and put it front and center. Adopt customer service instead of customer indifference. We want leadership that is real and not created by hiring a mission statement consultant. I want to get my inspection scheduled right away and back to building. I'd like to know why that can't happen immediately.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Sarah Butler. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight. Small businesses are not just tenants and storefronts. They're the heartbeat of Port Orchard. They sponsor our youth sport teams. They donate to our fundraisers. They employ our neighbors. They create the vibrancy that makes our downtown and commercial corridors feel alive instead of vacant. When a small business opens its doors, it's not just a transaction. It is a family taking a financial risk. It's an entrepreneur investing their savings. It's someone choosing Port Orchard as a place they believe in. I grew up here. I've watched this community evolve, and I chose to build my business here because I believe in Port Orchard. I'm a hometown kid who chose to invest my career, my reputation, and my energy back into the city. However, many of our small business owners are facing significant challenges navigating the permit process. Delays, inconsistent communication, unclear timelines, procedural hurdles are making it difficult, not only for new businesses to open, but for existing businesses to expand. For a small business, time is not abstract. Time is rent being paid on a space that cannot yet open. Time is payroll starting before revenue begins. Time is inventory sitting idle. Extended permitting timelines can be the difference between success and failure. I see this firsthand in my role as a commercial real estate broker. My job is to fill those vacant spaces and bring new energy into our community. I work with entrepreneurs who are excited to come here. They see potential. They want to invest. But when they hear stories of lengthy or unpredictable permitting experiences, they hesitate. Some choose neighboring jurisdictions where processes are clear and timelines are more reliable. This impacts not only my business, but our entire community. Empty storefronts affect property values. They affect tax revenue. They affect public perception. When business struggle to expand or open, we all feel the ripple effects. Port Orchard has an incredible potential. We have passionate business owners, supportive residents, and a growing population. What we need is a permitting process that reflects the same spirit of partnership and progress. Predictability, transparency, accountability within the system would go a long way towards supporting the entrepreneurs who want to build here. I'm not here to simply point out problems. I'm here because I care deeply about this town and its future. I want to continue bringing new businesses into our community. I want to help our existing businesses grow, but we must make it easier for them to succeed. When small businesses thrive, Port Orchard thrives. Thank you for your time and your commitment to our city.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nate Klein with Town Square Port Orchard. I'm here to speak on behalf of Barbara Bradshaw, who runs Wine About It. And I want to talk about her difficulties working with the Department of Community Development to get her store open. In July, before she even signed her lease, she called DCD to make sure she did everything right. She explained exactly what her business was and asked what she needed to do to get open. The first thing they told her was that cooking wasn't allowed in her suite. That's fine. She wasn't planning to cook anyway. But then they told her she needed a grease trap. That doesn't add up. If the DCD didn't allow cooking, and Barbara didn't plan on doing any cooking, why require a device specifically designed for cooking? After a sit down with DCD to get clarification, they gave no real explanation other than those are the rules. So she hired a licensed plumber and had it installed. She did what they told her. Over the next few months, they rejected her site plans 3 times. The city required ADA accessible seating built directly into her fixed counters. She pointed out there are ADA compliant tables right next to them. The city wouldn't budge. She built the counters, spent more money, and moved on, because that's what you do when you're trying to open a business and the goalposts keep moving. In November, the site plan was finally approved. She failed her first inspection. Her shelving wasn't sufficiently secured to the walls. There was no mention of this requirement prior to the inspection, but again, she fixed it anyway. A week went by and the inspector noticed the grease trap the DCD had required her to install. She failed again because she hadn't pulled a separate plumbing permit to document the installation. By this point, Barbara came to me in tears. She was ready to walk away. A business only seeking to improve the community, started by someone who followed every instruction she was given, was about to close before it ever even opened. Because every time she satisfied a requirement, a new one appeared. At some point, that stops looking like an accident. She finally got to open at the end of November, 4 months after her initial consultation. I want to fill Town Square with good businesses. I want to help the city grow, but it's a hard sell when this is what they're walking into. Barbara did everything right. The people who show up to open a business here aren't adversaries. They're the tax base. They're the employers. Port Orchard deserves a Department of Community Development that actually develops the community. I urge this council to take a direct look at DCD's culture, internal processes, its communication standards, and its accountability to the people it's supposed to serve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mike Anderson, and I'm Clancy Donlan's builder. Just want to say a couple of things out of the experience that I've had with the city of Port Orchard versus many other counties and cities that I've built in for the last 30 years. Our first 5 inspections were actually very smooth. Everything went really good. And I noticed that the city of Port Orchard outsources their inspectors, whether they're too busy to have the actual city employee do all the inspections. But the inspectors that we started with for the first 5 inspections went very smooth. Nice guys came up. They've been in the trades for a lot of years. They know what they're talking about, very educated. Everything went really smooth until we got to the combination inspection. Then the young lady came from the city of Port Orchard. She wasn't subbed out. She was an actual employee. And this was out of my experience with her anyways, but she came on the site. She didn't say hi. I'm a very friendly person. I try to get along with everybody because, you know, it's already stressful as it is already. She shows up. She doesn't say hi at all. I have my plans, I have my notebook. I follow her up because I want to make sure that I can write notes if there's notes to be taken or something, if I get caught on something that I didn't see. So we head up in the observation room up above where she started. She sat down in the middle of the floor, and there again, she hasn't said 2 words to me. And so she starts writing. I'm going, I'm sorry, excuse me. I said, what are you writing? Are you writing corrections? She goes, yeah. And I go, well, can we talk about these corrections? I mean, all the other community, you know, the counties and the cities I've ever worked for, we talk about them. You can still write them up, but I want to talk about them to get clarity on what you're actually asking for me. So she goes, no. She goes, well, I write them all out, and at the end, if you want to talk, I go, well, at the end, it could be 4 hours the rate you're going. We've been up here for 35 minutes, and we've written, 4 things. This is going to be a long inspection. So I said, look, I go, write your list, and we'll talk about them when you're done. So I went out in my truck, sat in my truck, let her do her whole inspection. And then she gets done. She starts walking right towards her truck, doesn't come to me, completely goes to her truck. I get out of my truck, start kind of running over there and say, listen, I need that inspection card because I need to know what you want. Well, I went back and more than half of the items that she wrote down were so dumb and so minor. And usually I don't mind fixing that kind of stuff. But with the way the city of Port Orchard goes is if you have a correction, you put in the correction, it's a 2-week turnaround. So you do fix one dumb thing, you get it back, and then they have 2 more to follow. And then you have to fix those 2, and there's more to follow. We've been going 4.5 months on things they keep adding for the inspection. So the layer inspections that the city of Port Orchard have doesn't work. We've never had a friendly experience one time with any of the inspectors. We don't look for trouble. We just want to be a team and work together and get this home built. There's not a team effort on the city side. It's like, how can I write you up? What can I write you up for? And how much more money can I cost you? Because that's exactly what is being done. It's bad business, and it definitely is not teamwork in the city of Port Orchard. This will be my only house I build in the city of Port Orchard, thank God, because the fact is the experience is really bad. So appreciate your time, and thank you.
Hi, thanks. My name is Dave Montour. I don't own a business here in Port Orchard, but I do in Silverdale, the Kitsap County resident. So I don't really have any skin in the game here in Port Orchard, but I just want to remind you, politics is local. I'm that employer. I'm that guy who's been through this process in different jurisdictions many times. I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like to pay rent on a dead room where you're sitting there and you walk in and it's cold and there's no heat in the building and you're waiting and waiting on permits. It is so discouraging. The comments I hear tonight, I'd love to have a business in Port Orchard. I consider it my hometown, even though I live in Southworth. But boy, certainly gives you pause, when you hear these horror stories about going through this process. And I'll just remind you, politics is local. The heavy-handed government, my main beef is down in Olympia right now. But I even heard it this morning at my club meeting with Rotary from the Kitsap County auditor. And just the comments coming, from the bureaucrats. Boy, it certainly gives you pause as a small business owner. Is anybody on our side out here? What are we going to do? These past 5 years have been quite a challenge in the small business community. I've seen so many people close and go away. I don't want to see that happen in my business. Goodness knows, I should have thrown in the towel a long time ago. Steve, I empathize with not making any money because I know that feeling. It's tough out there, guys. We feel it. So anything you can do to change the culture, shift it, be more positive in your dealings with us small business owners. We're employers. We have, I don't have any children myself. My employees are my family. I used to have 22 employees in the city of Seattle. I've got 5 employees in Kitsap County. And I fight for them and I protect them. And anything I can do to support them, I'll do that. Anyway, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Christy McGee, and I'm a small business owner here in Port Orchard. I'm going to be very clear. What's being described by local business owners is not exaggerated. We've personally experienced it ourselves as well. We have dealt firsthand with a lack of transparency, poor communication, and a process that feels inconsistent and at times adversarial. We have been left without answers, given conflicting direction, and ultimately treated as expendable, almost as collateral damage rather than families, employing families, and people that are trying to invest in their community. This is not how it should work. The issue is not safety. The issue is not code compliance. The issue is not how authority is being exercised and how this process is being managed. We've personally experienced situations where technical direction from the city conflicted with established standards, only to have another department confirm our original approach was correct. That kind of internal inconsistency causes delays, drives up costs, and puts real pressure on projects that are already operating on tight margins. And beyond the process itself, there's a broader concern in this business community. People feel that pushing back or asking questions can come with consequences, whether acknowledged or not. That perception is real, and it's causing people to stay quiet instead of speaking up. That should concern every one of you. City government is not above the people. It works for the people and for the businesses trying to build something here, create jobs, and invest in this community. Right now, that relationship feels broken. This is not an isolated issue. It's a pattern, and it points to a leadership problem that needs to be addressed. I'm asking this council to take a hard look at what is actually happening in practice, not just what policies say on paper, and to restore a system that's transparent, consistent, accountable, and manageable. Port Orchard should be a place where people can succeed, not a place where they feel pushed aside while trying to do everything right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, City Council and Mayor. My name is Katie Hudkins, and I am the lonely wolf that took over where Irene and Steve were at the dock. So now the rest took a grow. Let me tell you, if I didn't have $90,000 out, I would have walked away months ago. I own 5 companies in Kitsap County. I have over 100 employees. I've done permitting for tens of years. I would go to Kitsap County, City of Bremerton, City of Paulsbo, heck, City of Ocean Shores, because I even have a project out there, then want to be in your city. I came into this city so excited to be a part of downtown Port Orchard because I believe in it, and it needs some new faces. It needed some refreshing storefronts, and with our ideas, and we know Sarah, I pretty much know everybody behind me, and I want to cry right now because I'm now a single mom with that much debt out, just trying to open a restaurant. And Mr. Mayor, you have walked into Good Grocery numerous times and never once come over and said hello, introduced yourself, nothing. I've emailed you. I've emailed Nick Bond, and let me grab what Nick Bond told me, that my words have been abusive towards his staff. It's not words that are abusive. It's my soul getting upset because we took over a restaurant that was existing, and all we did was put in new appliances, new valves for sinks, and put a passway door through. But we got hit with the red stop work. You're not allowed to touch anything. We got hit with those matrices that people are talking about when you have 3 things to fix, and then the next time you get it back, there's 18 on it. It is not a joke. And that is what Angela Garcia and her team thinks this is. We're small businesses trying to bring so much love and energy to this downtown part of Port Orchard. If I was a pot shop, if I was apartment buildings, I would have been approved months ago. But because I don't know every code in the book and being told, figure out yourself, go look it up yourself. If I told you, I'd be doing your job when I'm just trying to get some answers on the salad bar that we want to put in our restaurant. It's not a partnership. Why should I keep my businesses with you guys? I rent 37,000 square feet in Bremerton. I rent 16,000 in Silverdale, and now I have 2 leases here in the city of Port Orchard. I stupidly just signed another lease to put in a childcare center. And I'm scared to even do the permit process. I'm scared of the retribution because my name is attached to that restaurant that this team and Nick Bond have now labeled me as abusive, when I'm just a single mom trying to bring businesses, jobs, opportunities to our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I had a speech, but my phone is dead, so we're just gonna wing it. My name is Jamie Williams. I am born and raised Port Orchard, Washington for 50 years. My family is deeply rooted here. We go back as far as my grandpa loaned Chuck Hazelwood the money to start his first used car lot. I want to start a business here one day, and with whatever's going on with the permitting is disgusting. Your system is broken and needs to be fixed. I watched front row center Harbor Hute hot dogs go under the other day, and it was heartbreaking because those guys shouldn't have had to start their business off a year and a half in the hole. It already takes 2 years to recover your startup cost as a business, a food and beverage business. And so that puts them at 3.5 years. And you can only charge so much for a hot dog before it's just ridiculous. They had no choice. They might tell you because they're moving out of state, but their underlying issue is because of the permitting. I don't understand what's going on. If you need more staff, hire them. If permitting is, too much for you to handle because you spend a majority or 50% of your time on other committees and boards outside of Port Orchard, then maybe you should let some of those go. And I'm talking to you, Mr. Mayor. And a lot of people are scared for retribution or whatever. I'm not scared, okay? I'm not scared of nothing. And I mean, I'm a little nervous, but I'm not scared. And so I think, your system's broken. It needs to be fixed. Something needs to change because this is ridiculous. I hear it from dozens of small business owners here in this Port Orchard. And it's not one or two, it's a lot. And it's all the same story over and over again. So, respectfully, step up or step aside because you're not doing your job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of City Council, Mayor. My name is Kane Fenner, and I'm here to speak about a small business owner, Yusuf Salehi, the man behind Discount store at Town Square, Port Orchard, the man in the back row of the room. And how his business was shut down for 3 weeks over a door to a storage room. Not a broken door, not a dangerous one, a door that was too safe. When we discovered an unpermitted opening to an access at a storage room, we pulled permit number 24-847 for a 90-minute fire-rated door. Due to shipping issues, what arrived was a 3-hour fire-rated door, more protection than was required. But when the city inspector arrived, she refused to sign off on the 3-hour door because it was not the one that had been permitted. The city then agreed that to allow, if we provide the installation instructions, we could use that, which we did provide them. Then the city insisted that they were the wrong instructions because they were for a different brand, controverting the distributor's established and certified practices to use instructions for one brand generically for all because the components are all exactly the same. Despite daily interaction and visits to the city office in good faith, the city red tagged his business so they could not operate beginning October 20. For 3 weeks, Yusuf sat on now useless Halloween inventory, losing income, all because a label on a piece of paper didn't match. The city added new demands, first for a smoke seal, then for a threshold, both for a door that was not required at all, but we did that too. When the mayor finally intervened, one of the official options was to remove the 3-hour fire door and replace it with a 90-minute one. Think about that. Make it less safe to satisfy paperwork. In the end, to save the business, the landlord had to bury the 3-hour fire door behind 4 layers of drywall, a literal wall over a $3,000 door. The discount store is open again, but those 3 weeks of lost revenue are gone. Mr. Salehi's story is not an outlier, it's a warning. When the city departments prioritize paperwork over real safety and human livelihoods, trust erodes. I urge this council and demand accountability from the Department of Community Development, review how permits are processed, how inspections are handled, ensure expert input is respected, and put a stop to arbitrary enforcement that punishes good faith. Our city deserves a building department that values safety, fairness, and common sense, not one that drives hardworking families to the brink over a door that was too safe to be allowed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a postscript update to the story you just heard about the fire door. The door is still not permitted. Just yesterday, the city responded after nearly 3 months of silence with a requirement for documentation for a completely different brand of door from the one was installed. So we responded by requesting the city review the materials we sent them 3 months ago, which matched the door installed. One can only speculate it will take the city another 3 months to respond with a requirement for something else. This should not be. Remember, this is not a broken door, not a dangerous one. This is a door that is too safe. And for that, the city finds reason to delay and obstruct. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert McGee, City of Port Orchard. Thank you for letting me speak, council. I'm here to address an issue that affects every resident and business in this city, whether they realize it or not. Recently, at the South Kitsap Fire and Rescue Commissioners meeting, it was discussed that the Washington Survey and Rating Bureau classification for the City of Port Orchard has increased from level 3 to level 4. For those unfamiliar with that rating, it directly impacts what people pay for their property insurance. It's based on factors such as fire department response capability, staffing and equipment, water supply, emergency communications, and fire code enforcement. In simple terms, when the rate goes up, insurance costs go up. This is not something that citizens vote on. There's no appeal process, yet homeowners, renters, and businesses all bear the financial consequences, which are a direct result of city decisions. This did not happen in a vacuum, nor was it caused by any reduction in service from South Kitsap Fire and Rescue. In fact, with continued community support, their service levels have increased and gotten better. In 2022, the city made the decision to cancel its contract with South Kitsap Fire and Rescue for fire marshal jurisdictional services. That decision moved the city away from established fire safety jurisdictional standards. The former fire marshal the city abandoned warned the city about these negative impacts and raised concerns at the time. And today we're seeing the negative result. Not every member of this council was part of that decision. However, Mr. Patonsu, council members Diener and Rosapepe were, and that matters because policy decisions carry long-term consequences. And newer members of this council are now responsible for addressing those consequences, and that matters too. What's especially frustrating is the community consistently supports and funds fire district needs, expecting that investment to maintain or improve outcomes. As it's working outside of city limits, the WSRB rating has remained stable, while those in city limits are now facing higher insurance costs tied to poor policy decisions. Though it's a tough pill to swallow while continuing to be asked to support the district for fire financially. I'll leave you with this. At a time when families and businesses are already dealing with rising costs, taxes, and fees, every additional increase matters. This is real money. These impacts may not show up in a city bill, but they hit just as hard, if not harder, because they're hidden. Here's the reality: when policy decisions raise costs for residents without a vote or visibility, that's a hidden and deceptive tax of the people you represent. This issue needs to be acknowledged, it needs to be addressed, and it needs to be corrected. The city cannot ignore the financial impacts this places on its residents and businesses. Accountability matters, not just for past decisions, but for how this council responds right now. I urge you to take it seriously and find a solution that restores alignment with South Kitsap Fire and Rescue and restore public trust. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, City Council and Mayor. I'm Gary Anderson. I have a business here in Port Orchard and own property in Port Orchard, live in South Kitsap. I had some prepared comments, but the tension in the room and the capacity in the room demonstrates that there's a big problem in the city of Port Orchard. I've been doing this a long time in commercial real estate, and I've probably heard more negative comments about the permitting process in the city in the last year and a half than I ever did before. And I've been doing this for 35 years. There was a time when, back when Lowe's wanted to come into Port Orchard, and the city council at the time because they had a desire for it to occur. It happened very quickly, extremely quickly, because they wanted it to happen. And I think that's just an attitude change about what the city wants or what it doesn't want. So with the complaints that I'm listening to, it sounds like the city does not want business here. I don't know why these fine folks who come here this evening and stand up here and address you calmly and with respect aren't screaming into the microphone. They should be able to do that because some of the things they've had to deal with are just so unfair. And to them, it affects their livelihood in many cases. And I just don't think that's the way the city wants to be. I think it's become that way for maybe just one reason, and it needs to be dealt with right away. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Brian Lyman, and I live in Manchester. I'm a professionally licensed architect and have been practicing in Port Orchard area for 36 years. I've become accustomed to professional relationships with our building departments and shared goals of protecting public health, safety, and general welfare. The building codes share an equal recognition of the building official and the design professional. And it's always in our best interests to work collaboratively. A past example of collaboration was my years in Port Orchard Rotary, when we operated a community service program called the Rotary House. Rotary would purchase land and high school students would design and build houses. This was sustained for over 15 cycles. Could we operate such a program today? I cringe at the thought of operating such a community service project under the current culture of the City of Port Orchard's building department. I'm willing to testify that such a Rotary House program today would quickly wither and die under the city's death by 1,000 cuts, or because I said so culture. I've attempted to obtain building permits for the past 2 years, and I have yet to receive one. I've applied for 3. The following is one egregious example. An existing funeral home exists here, 34 years at its current location. This funeral home uses a covered side patio for funeral processions, from the chapel to a funeral coach, and then on to the gravesite proceedings. This building was designed, permitted, constructed, and occupied in this fashion for the past 3 decades. The business owner recognizes that this covered patio at times is impacted by cold winter winds. They thought, wouldn't it be nice if we added some wind screening windows at the perimeter of this covered patio to reduce the effects of winter weather on the funeral procession? The city determined the funeral procession through this covered patio is illegal. They are not. They advised that code enforcement will be paying a visit to the building owners to cease and desist using the funeral coach patio in this way. They better not. They declared that this area is a parking garage. Me and my subject matter experts responded with lengthy and detailed demonstration of a funeral procession at this site and declared that occupancy of this patio is not a parking garage. In response, the city doubled down. The "because I said so" and death by 1,000 cuts culture now in full swing. They continued to declare this patio as a change in use, that a full building fire protection sprinkler system would have to be installed, that a fire alarm system, radiant patio heaters would require full upgrades as a heated space, parking garage mechanical ventilation systems added, fire separation walls added. 300 additional people will require new bathrooms. Nonsense. The funeral home desires to add some wind screening to this funeral procession. The patio project is dead. Mr. Mayor, my closing sentence. The time is now, Mr. Mayor. Change the culture of your building department. Thank you.
Thank you.
close the first public comment period.
We outline.
Just a reminder, Mayor, we do have members of the public online. They want to participate. They just need to raise their hand with the star feature.
All right, I will close the citizen comment period. On to our consent agenda. We have items A, C, D, and E are still on the consent agenda. Is there anything to approve?
Mr. Mayor, I motion to accept the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Morrison. Councilmember Rose, accepted to approve consent agenda as amended. All right. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Hearing none of the consent agenda, we have no presentations, we have no public hearing. We are to our first business item. Business item A, adoption and change the official zoning map of the city of Port Orchard, property located at 1061 and 1083 Hall Avenue, from residential to residential.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and members of council. In 2025, the city received an application from Noel Larson on behalf of 1909 Holdings LLC, requesting a site-specific rezone of approximately 2.7 acres from R2 to R3. The request applies to two adjoining parcels owned by the applicant located at 10061 and 10083 Hall Avenue within Port Orchard. Consistent with Port Orchard Municipal Code Section 20.40040 and Chapter 20.24, the application was forwarded to the hearing examiner for a noticed public hearing and recommendation to the City Council. The hearing examiner's role was to determine whether the proposed rezone meets the criteria outlined in Port Orchard Municipal Code Section 20.42030, to issue findings and conclusions of law, and to make a recommendation to the City Council. On December 3rd, 2025, the hearing examiner held an open record public hearing on the Hall Avenue rezone. Notice of the hearing was provided in accordance with Port Orchard Municipal Code requirements. At this hearing, city staff presented a detailed staff report. Following the hearing examiner issued an initial recommendation. During staff review of that recommendation, we identified incorrect citations related to allowed densities in the existing and proposed zones, as well as minor Scrivener's errors related to recommendations in hearing dates. Staff requested corrections, and on February 5th, the hearing examiner issued a second revised recommendation, which is the final and accurate version. This recommendation was included in the February 10th, 2026 packet for a closed record hearing. The public was notified of a closed record hearing before the City Council on February 10th, 2026. Only parties of record, including the applicant and individuals who testified at the December 3rd hearing, were permitted to reiterate their earlier testimony. After holding a closed record hearing, considering all testimony and deliberating, the City Council voted 5-2 to accept the hearing examiner's recommendation and to direct staff to prepare an ordinance amending the city's zoning map to rezone the parcels at 1061 and 1083 Hall Avenue from R2 to R3. This ordinance was prepared in compliance with that direction. The zoning change is illustrated in Exhibit A to the adopting ordinance included in the packet. Consistent with the direction from the City Council on February 10th, 2026, staff prepared an ordinance amending the official zoning map of the City of Port Orchard, reclassifying the property at 1061 and 1083 Hall Avenue from R2 to R3. Thank you.
Yeah, Mayor, I approve an ordinance amending the official zone map of the City of Port Orchard, reclassifying the property located at 1061 and 1083 Hall Avenue from residential 2 to residential 3.
Questions of staff?
Yeah, I got a question. When we found out about this, we couldn't talk to anybody for like a month, and then we deliberated, Mr. Bond, for 12 minutes. And so if you can answer some of my questions right here, I think this R2 to R3 is a really big deal. We really, and to really consider all, and it says right here, all the testimonies I did, but I didn't feel like we put the people's testimony in our decision making. And my conclusion was different from the examiner. And I will address you why, Mr. Bond, and my fellow council members. Around the corner will be 300 apartments, and the builder can easily build on R2 if you turn it to R3 to apartments and introduce it inconsistent with the established character and scale of the surrounding neighborhood. Nothing has changed the neighborhood since it has been R2, but if you make it R3, the character of this neighborhood will take away everything that the neighbor has been established by. And so, and with our management, I mean, the capacity that you want to change the way we're doing our management comprehensive plan, we want to do more single family and it's not apartments in that area. So I am very concerned that we are taking this neighborhood that has been established and you're going to take away R2 to R3. If you can address any of this, that would be fine, because I feel like what I'm saying is very consistent, and it is okay for me not to, go, I think I'm different from the examiner in this situation.
Councilmember, just a procedural note. The closed hearing was at the last meeting. So any questions of staff, any concerns with regards to the substance of the application had to have been addressed at that closed hearing. I also didn't necessarily hear a question in there for Nick Bond. Is there anything in particular that you are looking for to be answered in particular about the process?
Well, I don't know why I can't say all this.
No, you absolutely can say it. You absolutely can say it 100%. I just, you ended by saying, can you answer this, Mr. Bond? And I didn't necessarily hear a question, and it may have been me mishearing, but if you could restate the question.
Our comprehensive plan is more for single housing and for middle housing, not an apartment. So if this R2 changes to R3, this builder could put all apartments there. Is that correct?
It is correct.
This neighborhood that is already established.
It is correct that the R3 zone allows apartments and the R2 zone does not allow apartment buildings.
Right. So if we agree to R3, then we're changing that whole neighborhood when right around the corner is going to be 300 apartments.
This is about changing the map. We already,
I thought we're changing the zone.
no, we are the zone.
I agree with Councilmember Rosenberg's point of order that this is about changing the map. The decision on the zoning happened at the last.
Oh, when I was talking to Jennifer, she said we're going to have this discussion again.
So you authorized staff to proceed with drafting an ordinance that approved, and the council said we approve and confirm the hearing examiner's findings. And so we prepared that ordinance, and so that you can vote as a body whether that ordinance matches the intent. You are free to vote however you want on the ordinance, but tonight is the ordinance which changes the map in front of you. So the hearing on the substance of the zoning change was at the last council meeting.
Okay, so the zoning and the map, it still changes. So it's already R3 no matter what. Is that what you're saying?
No, the ordinance will make the actual change to the map.
Okay,
Yes.
so
So everything you've said is valid. You're allowed to say that this evening. It's as far as interacting with staff or getting new information from staff. That's the piece where I just wanted to make clear that that was at the hearing at the last meeting.
No, I'm not trying to get information. I'm just stating the fact of what R2, this zoning map is going to change to R3. And is that really what we want to do in this neighborhood?
We voted yes.
Okay. So voting.
I, with, my issue with, voting, on this ordinance to change the zoning. I think this is actually, I think it's important that. So we are using this opportunity to clarify the process. So the reason why I want to with ordinance zoning is that then I approval for denial. So here what's for the denial of this ordinance for the zoning. Capacity, needing the goals, and and one there is favor of rezone and the applicant favor of approved. Yet, particularly public safety concerns. It's not additional part we would be city had part zone capacity elsewhere. At the same time, comprehensive plan and increasing the housing. There's no they don't have which meaning
Good. Questions been called for? We have a motion, a second. An ordinance in the official zoning map of the city of Port Orchard reclassifying property And 1083 Hall Avenue from residence 2 to residence 3. All in favor?
Aye.
Nay.
Adoption of resolution approving memorandum of understanding. Watch that. Fish passive program coordination. Ryan, this is you.
Mr. Mayor, apologies to interrupt. We're having a microphone problem from the mayor left. We're unable to hear you. So we're going to actually ask that we circulate this microphone so that you can be heard on the and captured on the recording. I believe it. I'll get back to you on that. Yeah, absolutely.
So these microphones are good.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Testing. Yeah.
Testing.
Testing.
Yeah.
We can hear.
Hear this. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Didn't hear. Council member. It's not recorded. You may record it on the recorder. I was glad to do that. Yeah, because it needs to be recorded.
So city attorneys,
The will of the council.
do we wish to back up and no?
Yes. I second that. It is important. It is important. It should. I'd like to-
Is there a motion, to reconsider the last item?
Council member then be allowed to read my speech, being that there was a technical difficulty in the last business item.
I second that.
Motion a second to basically redo the last business item all in favor of doing that, please say aye.
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 I have, can you see, raise of hands? 3, 4. Okay, so we're going to go back to that last business item. And
Can you pass the microphone to her?
and after I read the
So
item
sorry.
back into the
Thank
record.
you.
So we are dealing with the adoption of an ordinance amending the official zoning map, the city of Port Orchard reclassifying property located at 1061 and 1083 Holland Avenue from residential 2 to residential 3. And I can't believe Council Member Fenton, did you have a statement you wanted to read first? Or
Hers was recorded.
Hers was captured.
hers was
Yeah.
captured?
Yeah.
Councilman Edmund, okay.
It's fine.
No, it's just the restatement.
Hi,
It's
just
not
to
an
make it clear, I am rereading a speech I previously read. We are not trying. Oh, yes.
Before you read your statement. So are we redoing the vote or merely the
No,
statement?
this is not a reconsideration. This is merely the rereading of the
Thank
statement.
you.
Yes.
That's.
Well, I'll point of order because that wasn't the motion that was made.
Well, I misstated that was not what she.
Correct. The mayor misstated the motion. Her motion was merely to re-speak.
And that's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair.
And a point of order before you read yours, council member, Scott, that you wanted to table this and put it at a work study, or no, you didn't? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so yeah, that's why I wanted to just clarify that we are not handling the entire motion. You can look at that before. This is me restating something because we were having technical issues and my speech was not allowed to be recorded. Therefore, I wanted this recorded. So to restate this, I am talking about why I do not support the ordinance for the change in the map regarding the rezone. The hearing examiner noted that the city could legally defend either approval or denial. Here is why I support a denial of the rezoning ordinance. I want to focus on 5 key issues: the burden of proof, the unresolved safety concerns, the lack of demonstrated need for additional R3 capacity, meeting middle housing goals, and the compatibility issues with the surrounding neighborhood. Number 1, the applicant has not met the burden of proof. There is no presumption in favor of a rezone. The applicant bears the burden of proof, and the rezone must bear a substantial relationship to public health, safety, and welfare. The hearing examiner acknowledges this standard. However, many of the concerns raised, particularly public safety concerns, were deferred to future project review. This is not what the code requires. A rezone is a legislative decision. Once R3 is granted, the intensity of use is established. You cannot later revisit whether R3 was appropriate when reviewing a building permit. The applicant must demonstrate now that this upzone serves public safety, not that safety issue might be addressed later. Number two, public safety concerns were deferred, not resolved. The record shows Hull Avenue lacks continuous sidewalks. There are known blind corners. Local intersections are exempt from concurrency. Impacts to transportation were described as significant, even if technically within concurrency thresholds. Yet the examiner concluded that these issues could be addressed in subsequent permitting. Respectfully, that shifts the burden away from the applicant. The standard is not whether future mitigation might be possible. The standard is whether the applicant has demonstrated that the rezone itself supports public safety. That burden was not met. Number three, there is no demonstrated need for additional R3 zoning. The examiner found that the city had adequate R3 zoning capacity elsewhere. At the same time, the city's comprehensive plan examines increased middle housing. R2 already allows middle housing, including townhomes, duplexes, and other attached forms. What R3 adds here is unrestricted density apartments. If the city already has sufficient R3 capacity, then there is no demonstrated change in conditions requiring this upzone. And if the policy goal is incremental middle housing with low density neighborhoods, retaining R2 accomplishes that goal. Upzoning to R3 is not necessary to achieve housing diversity. Number four, existing apartments nearby are not a justification for further upzoning. The examiner cites the nearby Forest Song apartment development as precedent, but that project shows that this area is already absorbing significant apartment growth. Rather than creating a trend that justifies further expansion of R3, it demonstrates that higher density housing is already being added in this vicinity. True housing diversity means a mix. R1, single family, R2, middle housing, limited R3 nodes. Expanding R3 further erodes the balance rather than enhances it. And finally, point 5, R2 townhomes are more compatible with the surrounding area. The surrounding area is predominantly R2 and single family development. While R2 and R3 share a 35-foot height limit, the difference is intensity and massing. R2 allows townhomes and middle housing that transition gradually from single family homes. R3 permits apartment buildings with no maximum density limit. The applicant could still develop substantial housing under R2, including the proposed townhomes, while maintaining compatibility and gradual transition. The comprehensive plan requires balancing growth with neighborhood character. Retaining R2 does both. And for these reasons that I stated, I don't support this rezoning ordinance.
All right, we're back to item B now, which is an adoption of an ordinance approving a memorandum of understanding with the Washington State Department of Transportation for the WashDOT Fish Passage Program Coordination. Mr. Ryan, this is you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council. We previously discussed our water transmission main that is affected by the WashDOT statewide fish passage program to meet federal, which is a requirement to meet federal requirements to replace culverts that block salmon and steelhead migration. Several of these projects in Kitsap County fall within the city's utility service area, which means some city-owned utilities may need to be relocated to protecting during construction. To support coordination, WashDOT has proposed an MOU that outlines how the city and WashDOT will work together on these projects. Under the MOU, WashDOT will manage and fund the fish passage program, while the city will be responsible for the relocation costs of any utilities within the WashDOT right-of-way. Each project may also include separate utility construction agreements and defined detailed scope and cost responsibilities. The MOU is non-financial, does not create a separate legal entity, and runs through 2032. It ensures timely project coordination and helps protect city infrastructure while meeting the state and federal requirements. This will be the first step This is a cooperative purchasing. This gives us the ability to do cooperative purchasing. The state has gone out to bid, successfully awarded the contract to Kiewit Construction. We will be able to piggyback off that contract because the state has provided that they will meet all bidding thresholds required by the state of Washington. And so that agreement will come at a later date.
Councilmember Warden.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt the resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a memorandum of understanding with the Washington State Department of Transportation for coordination on the WashDOT Fish Passage Program.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Warden, a second by Councilmember Rosa Peppery. Questions for Mr. Ryan? This is really an example of when the power company or the gas company or the phone company has utilities in our right of way. They have, when we do a project, they have to move them at their expense. And now we have utilities in WashDOT, the state of Washington's highway system that need to be moved. And those same rules apply to us.
No, my only question, Dennis, is there's a lot more details to be worked out here. This just covers the utilities part of it. And I know that several members of the council have a lot of concerns about other impacts to the infrastructure, but those will be addressed in later documents then.
Correct. The only thing at this date that's going to be impacting the city is the water transmission line.
Yeah.
And they are working, they're working at their own risk right now with a design. They are at about 60%. We're meeting weekly with WashDOT and Kiewit just in preparation so we can get this project done before the summer high use times of our water infrastructure.
Yeah.
Is the city in contract with Kiewit?
Sorry.
Is the city in?
Not yet.
Okay. That's about, but we are not.
That microphone is no longer working, Mr. Mayor. Apologies.
Mine, no.
Oh, now it is. Okay.
Mine's working just fine. Okay, so the question was whether we're in contract with Kiewit, and we are not at this point. And you can vote on this. This is contract is with WashDOT. The future agreements, you may wish to recuse yourself. Okay, further question? Councilmember Fenton?
Sounds like the fiscal impact is not going to be that much.
There's no fiscal impact for this agreement today. There will today. This WashDOT agreement has no fiscal impact. This just allows the city a tool to use to procure when we do need to hire the contractor. No, it's Ken Rob's up.
Yep.
Transportation for WashDOT Fish Passage Program coordination. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And I apologize for, we're having microphone difficulties everywhere, so apologize for that. We're to item C now, adoption of a resolution fixing the date of a public hearing on the petition from Kitsap County to vacate city right-of-way for the city council's regular meeting on March 24th. Ms. Wallace.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Council.
Yes, and I would imagine Councilmember Warden too. Thank you for prodding me there.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Council. So petitioners Kitsap County and Steve Tyner with KMT LLC, owners of the adjacent property, submitted petitions to vacate city right-of-way pursuant to Port Orchard Municipal Code, Chapter 12.08. There are 10 sections being requested to be vacated. They are as follows. So a portion of an alley off of Taylor Street near Sydney Avenue, which is identified as Section 2. I'll show the map here in just a few minutes after I read all 10 sections. That first section, which is labeled Section 2, is approximately 2,450 square feet. Second is most of Austin Avenue from Taylor Street to Smith Street, identified as Section 8, which is approximately 8,434 square feet. Item 3, most of an alley off of Austin Avenue from Taylor Street and Smith Street. Those are identified as sections 6 and 7 with approximately 8,434 square feet. Item 4 is a portion of an alley off of Division Street near Sydney Avenue, labeled Section 3, approximately 3,054 square feet. Item 5, which is most of alley from Smith Street to Taylor Street, identified as Section 9, with approximately 1,540 square feet. A portion of Sweeney Street off of Sydney Avenue, which is labeled as Section 4, for approximately 4,667 square feet. Item 7, most of an alley from Klein Street to Austin Avenue, which is labeled as Section 10, with approximately 3,897 square feet. Item 8, a portion of an alley off of Sweeney Street and Sydney Avenue, which is labeled as Section 5, with approximately 4,667 square feet. And lastly, number 9, a portion of an alley off of Klein Avenue near Taylor Street, which is identified Section 1, with approximately 1,498 square feet. The total area requested for the vacations totals approximately 38,641 square feet. As a reminder, the clerk received a completed application conforming with the requirements of Port Orchard Municipal Code Chapter 12.08, including Section 12.08.010. The Public Works Director and the Community Development Director supported the vacation as the city has no current or future needs or plans to open the city right away. Easements associated with the applicable city-owned utilities located within the areas requested for vacation would be provided as a component of the proposed vacation. Port Orchard Municipal Code 12.08.017 and Port Orchard Municipal Code 12.08.050 authorizes the city to obtain an appraisal of the area of the proposed vacation to assist this council in evaluating proposed adequate compensation for those proposed vacations. Compensation can include in lieu of transfer of real property, as well as other contributions of monetary value. Following an appraisal, Kitsap County provided a statement of proposed compensation for those areas to be vacated, including the payment of $30,000, the transfer of Veterans Park, which is 48 acres of real property located within the city, and dedicated public parking on the county's campus for special event parking, where an event is sponsored or promoted by the city. A copy of the Kitsap County's proposal to compensate the city is included in the packet for tonight's meeting and cannot be acted upon until after the public hearing and associated action by the city council, if any. Chapter 35.79 of the RCW requires that the city to adopt a resolution setting that date and time of a public hearing to hear and determine the petition to vacate the city's right-of-way. Based on the city council's regular meeting calendar, staff suggests holding the public hearing to vacate those proposed city right-of-ways and accept the associated compensation for March 24th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m., which is at least 20 days, but no longer than 60 days from the date of this resolution if adopted tonight, February 24th, 2026. Upon adoption of this resolution, staff will post proper notices of the date and time of the public hearing and provide notice to all adjacent property owners. With that, staff recommends that the council adopt a resolution setting the date and time of the public hearing on the petition to vacate a portion of alleys and streets as described in my staff report and presented to you this evening, and direct the proper posting of notices of this public hearing. The hearing will be held on Tuesday, March 24th, 2026 at the regular council meeting here held in the council chambers, 216 Prospect Street, starting at 6:30 p.m.
Councilmember Fenn.
I move to adopt a resolution setting a public hearing for March 24th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. on a petition from Kitsap County to advocate a portion of alleys and streets as described.
Second. Motion by Councilmember Fenton, a second by Councilmember Rosa Pepe. Brandy caught most of the compensation, but I think she missed one item. So the compensation will consist of the Veterans Park transfer at a future date at our discretion, I think up to 10 years. And the after hours use, and then also there's $30,000 in cash offered as part of that. And then the city attorney will bring that agreement with, or the authorization for me to sign that agreement once it's executed by Kitsap County, once we complete the street vacation. So, all right. Any questions on this? All right, you'll be voting on a petition to vacate city right-of-way for the Kitsap County at a meeting to be held on March 24th. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that passes unanimously. And we're going to go retrieve our other council members. And just for the record that Council Member Diener and Council Member Warden recused themselves from the last action. And
Whatever question on whether
Yep.
he needed to recluse himself in the next.
Yep. All right. And counts. Okay, motion in a second. I don't think we need to take, we'll take 5-minute break.
Oh, I thought we did.
Reconvene at 8 o'clock.
Howard. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, it said it was on, but.
I think Eric's.
No, I did. No.
That one can batteries.
No, it's got a green light.
No, it's from.
Yeah, mine's it. That's no.
Testing, testing. Oh, mine's not working either.
Mine's not working.
Testing, testing.
Have another mic.
Well, this one's not, here we
The
go.
ceiling mic was on. That's why it wasn't working.
Oh, all right. Now we're live again. All right. No, this one quit working also. All right. So we're back in session. And Councilmember Warden's going to recuse himself again. And we're to item D, adoption of a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a professional services agreement for the Annapolis Creek Fish Passage Culvert Project. Mr. Ryan, this is you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The culvert carrying Annapolis Creek under Bay Street near Whiskey Gulch has been identified to as a fish passage barrier. With upstream and downstream improvements already completed, the city is moving forward with designing a full replacement to restore habitat connectivity, improve stream function, and meet regulatory requirements. This site is priority in the city's identified in the city's stormwater action plan. An RFQ was issued last fall. 3 firms responded. After evaluation, Skillings Incorporated was selected as the most qualified consultant. Staff has negotiated a contract not to exceed $735,041 for the design. Services funded through a combination of local stormwater dollars and a $425,000 grant from the Brian Abbott Fish Barrier Removal Board. A budget amendment will be needed to cover the remaining amount. Staff recommends adoption of a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the professional service agreement. And just to give a little bit background on this fish barrier culvert, this is a wooden culvert. It exceeds probably 100 years old. So when you drive over that section of Bay Street, you're driving on a wooden bridge. So thank you.
Councilmember Diener. Oh,
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a professional service agreement for design and consulting for the National Street Fish Pass project and amount of $735,041.
Second.
motion by Councilmember Diener, second by Councilmember Trenary. And the staff report could lead you to believe that we've got $900,000. We don't. So we budget for, let me pull this back up. And Noah, can you maybe, yeah, it's not written as clearly as I would like. So let me open that up. And so we have $500,000 in the budget. The grant is
425.
is the grant. Yes. And so we only have 75,000 in the budget. So that means Noah's going to need to bring back a budget amendment for the 200 and change, wherever whatever that number is.
236.
236. Thank you. And so, and that will come from stormwater funds, stormwater capital funds, which there are fund balance in that fund, correct? Mr. Crocker?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just wanted to be clear about that. We'll be bringing back a budget amendment to fund the remainder of this contract for this design.
Is it the 236,000? Because I don't.
Yes.
Yeah, so just one more time to clarify. So in the budget currently, we have $500,000 of expenditure authority. And for the expenditure authority, we have budgeted for $25,000 to come from grant revenue to cover that portion, with $75,000 local. So that's what we have currently. We are going to have to increase our expenditure authority budget by another $236,000, and that will all come from local funds 423.
So when we built the budget, we believed the grant was coming, and
we thought the project was going to cost $500,000. And so that's why we built the budget to the dollars we have. Now we've negotiated the scope with the consultant to do the work, and it's $236,000 more than that.
You might say the guy losing any more hair if you make the numbers match. I now realize you rounded to 236,000 to round up from the 735,041 as opposed to making it match exactly what the contract is.
Yes, he rounded. All right.
I didn't just took all this to make that.
All right. Any questions process other than the budget amendment? Okay.
Sorry, I'm just clarifying, is this just for the plans?
The design.
This is just for the design?
This is just the design.
This will be a multi-million-dollar project.
This is considered a bridge for in transportation. This is such a unique infrastructure. It is classified as a bridge, so it has to be built, designed to seismic standards.
And, yeah, we'll get a design first, and then we will award a contract for the construction work at a future date. All right. Any further questions? All right, you'll be voting on adoption of a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a professional services agreement for the Annapolis Creek Fish Passage Project. All in favor, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the passes unanimously. And if you want to bring Councilmember Warden back in. All right, we're to item E now, which is the approval of a resolution authorizing a permitting pilot program and associated agreement with Permittable AI. Mr. Bond, this is you.
Yes, good evening. The Department of Community Development has been exploring opportunities to streamline and expedite the building permit plan review process. One identified cause of extended timelines for permit review is the submission of applications and supporting materials that are incomplete or not compliant with applicable building codes and submittal requirements, necessitating additional review, correction requests, and resubmittals before approval can be considered. The city has identified a possible tool to aid in addressing this issue through a pilot program in partnership with a newly created company, Permittable AI, who has developed an AI tool that would allow volunteer applicants for single-family building permits to pre-screen their plans prior to submitting those plans to the city for review. During the pilot program, Permittable AI would make its pre-screening software to volunteer applicants in Port Orchard free of charge for a one-year trial period. Running an application through the program prior to submittal to the city would be entirely voluntary on the part of the applicant. Permittable AI and the city would partner on a trial period to evaluate the potential for the software to reduce the number of review cycles for plans submitted to the city and to reduce demands on limited staff resources. Staff believes this tool may save applicants time and money in the application process and seeks to evaluate the effectiveness of the tool. Permittable AI is a private company that applicants would rely on at their own risk. This would be communicated to all applicants. The resolution creating the pilot program directs the administration to ensure that adequate disclaimers be provided concerning the use of Permittable AI, advising potential users of the system under this trial period of risks, including but not limited to delaying permit vesting by making plan corrections prior to making an application to the city, the possibility that the system could identify corrections that the city would not have requested, and the risk of sharing their plans without an outside party. Under the pilot program, the city would identify this optional tool on its website and provide a link to applicants wishing to use the tool, but clearly identify that the use of the tool is entirely voluntary. The Permittable AI website will require the creation of a user account. Once the account has been created, users will be able to drag and drop plans into the tool for pre-screening. Depending on the complexity of the plans, the review can take between a few hours and as much as a day to generate a report that flags potential issues that may be identified in the city's plan review process. Users will be given a discount code that reduces the cost for the reports to $0. The city will be gathering information from applicants to learn if they pre-reviewed their plans using the tool and if they made changes to their plans resulting from their use of the tool. The city seeks to collect data to determine whether the system is reducing plan review cycles and the number of comments and corrections identified. Prior to the launch of the pilot program, the city will be testing the system by uploading public records consisting of previously reviewed and approved plans to compare the corrections identified by Permittable AI to the actual comments created by our plan reviewers. After establishing a baseline for accuracy, the city will provide public records consisting of plan review comment letters to Permittable AI so that the company can calibrate the system to better capture the city's typical plan review comments. The city will then test the system again to ensure that accuracy has improved. Once the department believes that the system is ready for public use, we will launch a website presenting the public with the option of using the tool and instructions for how to use the tool. Long-term, the company would like to see a TSA pre-check style permit track where pre-screened permits can be given a fast-track review and a more cursory review by city staff. It is too early to know whether this type of framework is viable, but staff will utilize the pilot program to evaluate the system and to determine its usefulness to consider a long-term partnership. McCormick Communities first brought this tool to the city's attention and introduced the Permittable AI team to the city. McCormick has been testing the platform privately as part of their development. They have reported to the city that the system currently catches about 85% of comments that were being made by city staff, and they are satisfied with a low occurrence of false positives. McCormick's use of the tool has likely already had the effect of calibrating the system such that it is close to being ready for wider use in Port Orchard. And real quickly, I'm going to share my screen and show you what this interface looks like. I shared this with the Land Use Committee earlier this week. And so the Permittable AI platform here, it is a drag and drop site. You would create an account, and so once you're signed in, your name would appear in the upper right hand corner. You are dropping your building plans, your energy code worksheets, a site plan, and potentially structural engineering or other documents into this box. Once there are files in this box, you can hit next and it will upload those plans. You choose which reports you're seeking to receive from Permittable. And then you hit submit and it's going to do its analysis, and at the end it captures your payment information, and so you'll have to enter a discount code to reduce that fee to 0. I also wanted to share what the output report looks like. We have an example from McCormick Communities that was run through the system. And so this report actually captured several rounds of review. Typically, this would be a single round of review, likely between 8 and 10 pages in length, depending on the number of comments. So it starts out with a cover page explaining what property and property characteristics were evaluated and what codes were evaluated. And then it identifies which files were reviewed. It's going to include a narrative summary for the first cycle findings and basically say overall that, this is on track or it requires a lot of work. And then it goes into a correction matrix where it has categories for administrative items on the plans. This one flagged that a plan was missing a wet stamp from an engineer or architect. And then it gets into more specific categories of architectural requirements. In this case, there was a flagged a missing label for an egress window for identifying which window in a bedroom was used for egress, and identified handrail requirements that were missing, and generally just produces a nice report that hopefully gives people the opportunity to fix their plans before they submit them to the city. So with that, the staff recommendation is to approve a resolution creating the pilot program and authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Permittable AI.
Councilmember Diener. Motion by Councilmember Diener, second by Councilmember Rosa Pepe. And I just want to address the email we got today with the concern about our data. This does not reside on our servers. This is an outside software company, and people, there will be disclaimers, and people, it's a choice to use this, it isn't anything that's on the city servers. So Councilmember Rose Pepe.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment that this was briefed at land use, and we're interested in it, see how it works. Realize we have an issue with permitting, and a tool that would help. I don't think would be a bad tool right now. So when we look at it, it's interesting to move forward.
Go ahead, Marcy, go ahead.
Yeah. I want to thank you, staff, for putting it together and about it. It's been on the time. I do wish only, I believe it was 17 speakers tonight could give something. Thanks. I don't know if I share a whole lot of worry about this plan since now that I can understand what you do. So I do appreciate that you're I also like to see for sharing this with us because I know they've struggled through our process and have shared that they want this tool to easier. I think.
Councilmember Diener.
But I can watch the meeting, land use committee meeting, and and you'll be the first that starts. I did not
Yeah, that's correct. This program is really for IRC reviews, so 1 and 2 family residential projects, which are fairly narrow. And I think that one of the difficulties, I do believe that we are going to have AI review for commercial in the future, but I think it's going to take a lot more work. I think one of the pitfalls is that when you're doing a residential project, the system knows that it's receiving a single family residential project, and it isn't having to control for bad information going into the system. And so if you were to upload plans that you think meet the code, but you've described the use incorrectly or identified the wrong occupancy classification, I think there's all sorts of things that could go wrong, and it would be because incorrect information was on the plans in the first place going into the system. And so it's reviewing under certain assumptions, and then it would spit you out information that is just incorrect because something a human needed to catch would have needed to be identified sooner. So I think this is relatively easy for IRC type permits. I think once you get into IBC, there's a lot more room for mistakes, and I just don't, this system, they're not asking us to look at IBC commercial and multifamily type projects yet, but I don't know of any technology that's really ready for that type of review at this time.
Even though it doesn't do commercial, any relief we can, duties we can take off of people to provide a higher level of customer service on the commercial side is welcome.
We have a huge number of SFR permits that roll through, so.
Yeah. Councilmember Fenton.
Yeah, I'm just have a few questions here on for the family building permit. If you're going that way, why not? We're not looking in this for businesses permitting. And then another question is this what questions me too. The private company that applicants would rely on at their own risk. What does that mean, at their own risk?
Well, I think Mr. Bond already answered your first question. It's not available for the commercial. It's just not, that's not what it's designed for.
It's residential.
It's residential only.
It's not designed for commercial yet. It's not, that application is not available yet.
Okay, well, they say, why would it apply? Okay, so even if it's just private, they're applying at their own risk or not?
Yes.
Yeah, I can tackle that question. So one thing that happens when you apply for a building permit that is specified in Washington law is that you vest to codes. If the city council were considering changes to codes and somebody decided they were going to go through permittable AI and then they applied for a permit 5 days after they submitted to something to permittable AI, they would vest 5 days later. And if the code has changed, you potentially, that's a risk that you face as an applicant, is taking time to go through this review process and then making corrections before you've gotten your foot in the door with an application. So I think that there are risks because this is a private company and you're giving them information voluntarily. And so what they do with that information, I'm told that they're not sharing this with outside parties, but it is a private company and you're giving them building plans that has information on it. So it's data sharing and you're doing that at your own risk.
Okay, so, and it's all volunteer.
Yeah, you don't,
Yes.
nobody is required to do this. This is a tool we're giving people. It's free of charge and they can use it if they choose to. And if they don't want to use it, that's fine.
Right, okay, and then my last question here, you said McCormick Communities, they're the first one to try this and they like it. So you're saying it's not for builders, it's for homeowners doing that?
No, it's for it's for builders of residential construction.
Okay, exactly. And then it says the comprehensive plan contains numerous goals and policies related to housing affordability. As this tool has the potential to save builders time and money, it may indirectly improve housing affordability by lowering development costs. So with saying that in our comprehensive plan, is that just kind of a statement, or we don't know if that's really going to be affordable housing in this?
Yeah. So Councilmember Fenton, on the staff report template that we have, there's a section that says relationship to comprehensive plan. So when staff when they're bringing something to the council for consideration, we do our best to try to explain why what we're bringing to you relates to what you've told us through the comprehensive plan matters to you. And so what Mr. Vaughn's department, and I believe I helped to write this language, that's why I'm explaining it. What we're trying to say back to you is you have told us in your comprehensive plan that affordability and making sure that people can build and live in your city is important. So we took that and said, here's a tool that could potentially make development costs less because the developer gets to sort of preview whether their designs will comply with the law without having to spend a lot of back and forth time with our staff. This is something that can hopefully save them time and therefore reduce the costs for development and therefore make affordability better in the city.
Yeah, well, I hope so, because when I hear about affordable housing, it's always market rate. So it's really not affordable housing, it's market rate.
Councilmember Schneider.
Okay, I think all of us up here and many in the room earlier can get behind expediting the permit process. If we do improve our single family housing process, that will
Well, we're going to create a website that provides information about the optional program, and it will clearly state that this is optional for applicants to use, and that it may save them time and money, but that they're not required to use it. We're going to work with the city attorney to provide disclaimers to everyone, making sure that they're aware of the risks of using this private party tool, and explain that we're in a partnership with this company to test AI capabilities for helping streamline the process. And that will be the extent of the disclaimer that we provide. There will be a link to Permittable AI. Once you go to Permittable AI, you are leaving a city website and you are using that tool at your own risk. And we will have provided adequate disclaimers. We will be exchanging information with Permittable as they see things coming through the system using our discount code. They will coordinate with us, and we will follow up to make sure that the plan review comments that we have and the plan review comments that were generated by their system, we will kind of compare notes at how this is going as we go through the pilot program period. But that's the extent of any oversight. We don't have any involvement in operating Permittable AI, and the report that's generated, that belongs to the person who submitted their plans and to Permittable, and if they share it with us, that's fine. But we're not going through and checking those reports on each one is generated.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Warden.
Yeah, I actually spoke to Nick Toski quite a bit about this application that they're using in McCormick, and who's really hoping that we would implement it, obviously. And so I'm really glad we are. with 251 houses a year going up in McCormick, and with Stetson Heights going to put up real soon here, a couple hundred more.
100, yeah.
100 more. Yeah. Like we're going to be even more overwhelmed than we are. I think Nick already has like 100 permits, you know, in there right now. So if he thinks that we need to use this and he's been using it, I think we really need to give it a try. My question is did he tell you what other cities that he works with that uses this application?
We are the first. So they are
Right.
piloting this, and I think long term they're making it commercially available to people to pay to use the system. They're looking at partnering with a city to sort of collect information and figure out how this can streamline our process. And so it is a pilot program and a partnership where we're getting a benefit because it's potentially helping our applicants. They're getting a benefit because they're getting this partnership with the city and feedback from the city on how the system is working.
Yeah.
And my last question is going to be, because it is a concern anytime you implement something, how much time you have to dedicate to implementing it, training your staff to use it, you know, all that good jazz. How much staff time do you think that we're going to take away from what we're currently doing to implement it? I get we're going to catch up, right? The goal is whatever we use, we're going to get it back. I'm aware of that, but have you?
Yeah, it's not much. My staff is not going to be using this software at all. The only thing that my staff will be involved with is the initial testing. We've identified 13 building permits, and what we've done is we've tried to flag building permits that came in early in the code cycle. So it was right after the new codes rolled out and when people were still getting used to the new codes. And we're trying to flag kind of each builder's one of their first few permits that came in after the code change, because that probably had the most number of corrections that were needed. More recent permit submittals, they probably have worked through most of those and they're not continuing to make the same mistakes on later submittals. So we've identified 13 permits that we're going to test. We're going to have, we're first going to ask the applicant and the engineer of record, if there is one, or the architect, and verify that they are comfortable with us uploading their plans, because we do want to give them that courtesy. If they don't want us to use their plans, we'll pull that permit out of the queue. And potentially replace it with a different permit. But we're gonna run 13 plans through the system. We just drag and drop these plans into the system and we wait for the report to come out. And then the only work my staff is going to do is they're going to compare the report that gets generated to the actual first round of review comment matrix to see where there are common catches and where there are differences. And we want to figure out, is this thing flagging too many things that we didn't flag that would have been incorrect? And also, are there things that we flagged that it is missing? And once we kind of have a gauge of how it is doing compared to our human reviewers, then we're going to feed our comment matrices into the system, because it will learn from uploading those documents. It'll say, well, this is what the city found. And then if you rerun those plans, it should be more in line with what the city reviewers are doing. So once we've calibrated this to the point that we feel comfortable releasing it to the public, we'll make it available to the public. But I wouldn't guess that this is more than 2 or 3 days worth of work for one of my building department staff just to do the calibration.
Sure.
Unless there are major inconsistencies between the two, and then it's probably a few more days worth of work. But once it's released to the public, it's really just going to be me communicating with the leaders at Permittable and seeing how things are going and getting feedback from them on how many people are actually using the tool compared to and then comparing my data in the permit system for what applicants are saying about the tool, of whether they used it and whether they actually made the recommended corrections, so that I know how to compare data within our system.
I lied. One more question. Is it going to be this application? Is it going to be, we're going to pay, if we use it after a year, are we paying for a yearly subscription to it, a license, or is it going to be by permit usage, right?
We will look at what the next steps are after the end of the pilot program. I think we'll probably prepare a report back to council and let you know how it went. I know that immediately at the end of the pilot program, it is likely that applicants would be able to use this by paying a fee to the company or or any other company that they want to use if they wanted to run something through after it ceases to be free. So they can pay to use it if it is valuable to them. If the city finds that we have a lot of value in the system, we could look at doing a subscription where it continues to be free for our applicants as a way of saving us money and try to negotiate a cost for that going forward. Or the TSA pre-check comparison that they've made, we could talk about whether that makes sense based on how the system performs, but I think it's really too early for us to tell whether creating a fast lane for pre-screened applications makes sense or not.
A lot of questions for a free app, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Any further questions? You're looking like you want to.
Yeah. So first of all, you could have a technology fee where if we wanted to pay some of this, we wanted to share costs, for example. But so it sounds like McCormick Woods has been using this for a little while. Have you seen a noticeable difference in output with their application?
Well, it's hard to say because I think they were actually, if I understand how they've been testing the system, they were running things through Permittable, and then they were running uncorrected plans through the city, and they were doing their own comparison to see how things were similar or different. So I don't know how many applications they have actually run through the system and made corrections based on what the system has said. I don't know when that would have started, and it's hard to say. We had a pretty rocky start in the village in terms of some plan corrections and other issues. So it's hard to say how many of those things were already on track to be corrected versus what Permittable is actually catching today. So I would just say it's inconclusive.
But Nick would gladly give you that information. I mean, gladly, yeah.
All right. Are we ready to vote on this? Okay. You'll be voting on the approval of a resolution authorizing a permitting pilot program and associated agreement with Permittable AI. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes unanimously. We're to item F, adoption of a resolution granting final plat approval for McCormick West Division 15, Phase 1, final plat. Mr. Bond, this is you.
Yes, on December 5th, 2025, McCormick Development Corporation submitted an application for final plat approval for Phase 1 of Division 15 of the McCormick West subdivision project. The Kitsap County Hearing Examiner granted preliminary plat approval for the entirety of McCormick West with conditions on May 30th, 2008. Pursuant to WAC 197-11-630 and 965, Kitsap County issued a notice of adoption of existing environmental documents for this proposal. The McCormick West proposal was included in a group of projects known as the McCormick Urban Village under the South Kitsap Urban Growth Area ULID number 6 Supplemental Environmental Impact Statement. The ULID number 6 was issued October 26, 2001, and the final EIS was issued January 9th, 2002. The applicant for final plat has submitted 3 requests for administrative minor plat amendments, which were approved on September 1st, 2023, December 5th, 2024, and January 29th, 2026. The final plat for Division 15, Phase 1 of McCormick West creates 123 residential lots and 8 tracts, including 4 for future development. The applicant has installed roadway illumination, road, sidewalks, landscaping, water and sewer utilities, and storm drainage improvements. Streets within the final plat are for public use and will be accepted into the city's road system. The application for final plat includes all the necessary information required for approval, including but not limited to a bill of sale for infrastructure being dedicated to the city and maintenance bonds for that infrastructure. The staff recommendation is to approve a final plat for McCormick West Division 15, Phase 1. And I just want to note, because this came up at our land use committee, we are introducing an ordinance that would make these final plat approvals administrative, because you're really just granting approval to something at the very end where things can't really change. So in the future, you may see an ordinance that would actually take approval of final plats away from the city council. But for now, this is a business item. Normally, these are on the consent agenda, but because we have new council members, we wanted this first new plat of the year to be on the business agenda.
Councilmember Trenary.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution as presented, granting final plat approval for McCormick West Division 15, Phase 1.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Trenary, second by Councilmember Diener. Any questions of Mr. Bond? All right, you'll be voting on. Oh, go ahead, Councilmember Fenton. Missed you.
Mr. Bond? Okay, so this is for the final plat for Division 15, phase 1. And is this ending most of the houses out there, 123? But you also got phase 2, right, coming up, so we gotta vote on.
Well, this is division 15 out of 23. So there's division 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 through 23. But there is a phase 2 of McCormick West Division 15 as well that I think is 15 or 20 lots. They just chose to, there's one street at the perimeter of the plat that they chose not to finish the lots on the opposite side of the street that abuts the next phase. And so they're going to record that as part of the next phase of development rather than as part of this phase of development. But there are still, I think, close to 900 homes out there, or 900 additional lots to be platted.
All right. Councilman Medina?
Just since you brought it up, I'm excited to hear about the ordinance that will remove us. I see our review as a time barrier when the home costs are the highest for developers, so. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that.
So sometimes we're developers waiting
Yes.
for a council meeting to happen,
Yeah.
which could be 2 or 3 weeks versus moving forward on their project. So, all right, you'll be voting on a resolution granting final plat approval to McCormick West Division 15, Phase 1. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That passes unanimously. For item G now, approval of the February 2nd council meeting minutes, the special city council meeting minutes. And I think everyone was in attendance except for Councilmember Diener. And this is our motion to approve.
Well, Mayor, move to approve the special city council meeting of February 2nd with one Scribner error that Mayor Pro Tem is Councilmember Morrison and Councilmember Green.
Okay, fair enough.
Second.
The motion by Councilmember Rose Pepe, second by Councilmember Trenary. Any other corrections?
Well, at the meeting, he was at the meeting though. Diener was mayor.
He was there.
He was there. Yeah, that's right. That's another correction.
Yes.
He initially said he was not coming and then he came.
Yeah.
So, yes. So Councilmember Diener was in attendance too. He just didn't notify the clerk's office. He came, he jumped in the car at the last minute. So we've got a couple corrections there.
So all 7 council members were present during that meeting.
All 7 council members.
And then
So,
we'll switch we'll update the pro tem as well. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks for catching that. What's that? I think they're just Scribner's errors. She'll correct them. So, you'll be voting on the special meeting minutes that all council members were present at. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All right. Any opposed? All right. And that passes. We are now to our new business item H, which was previously consent item C, which is adoption of a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a conservation grant agreement with Puget Sound Energy for the completed relight Washington Street lighting work under TIB's Phase 5 project. That was a mouthful. Mr. Ryan.
Thank you. This is the city recently completed the LED streetlight upgrades under the TIB Phase 5 project in partnership with Puget Sound Energy. These improvements qualified us for an energy efficiency incentive through PSC's Relight Washington program. The city has been awarded a $5,276 conservation grant, which will be applied to the credit towards the project cost. This was nearly 150 streetlights that were converted from the high sodium pressure lights that are not efficient to the LED. To receive the incentives, we need to execute a conservation grant agreement. This supports our sustainable goals and aligns with the transportation chapter of the comprehensive plan.
Is there a motion? Councilmember, go ahead.
Resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a conservation grant agreement with Puget Sound Energy.
A motion by Councilmember Jetman and Representative Morrissey, second by Councilmember Morrissey. Any questions of staff? Yes. Sure.
So although high-pressure sodium streetlights have lower maintenance costs and offer superior fog penetration, the city replaced them with LED streetlights. While energy efficient LED street lights significantly worsen light pollution due to high intensity blue light emissions and poor upward scattering illumination, these lights cause severe glare, increased sky glow, and harm nocturnal wildlife. LED streetlights also significantly suppress melatonin production. Suppressed melatonin primarily causes sleep disorders like insomnia, delayed sleep onset, and poor sleep quality. It also triggers chronic, systemic, and metabolic issues, including but not limited to faster aging, weight gain, weakened immunity, and increased cancer risk. And it may contribute to ADHD, as studies show that up to 78% of people with ADHD experience melatonin suppression. In children, suppressed melatonin leads to behavioral issues, including increased irritability, anxiety, aggression, inattention, and poor cognitive function. Prolonged suppression may contribute to long-term issues like obesity and increased susceptibility to anxiety or depression. So while we vote now to accept a grant to offset the close to $5,300 dollar cost of LED streetlights the city incurred for their installation, the cost to the city of Port Orchard's people will probably be much greater than that.
All right. Anyone else have anything for the record? Councilmember?
These are street lights. Are you finding, look like you had researched a little bit, and I've come to understand more about LED lighting, but the effects of LED lighting, is that when you're speaking to them, is that in a room like this, or is it related to big lights?
Specifically, it is related to something like this, but specifically I was talking about street lights. So they found that street lights, the LED, the white light, which is potentially also known as blue light, those emissions cause melatonin suppression. And so that this is a very real health problem. And also it's a problem to wildlife, so not just human, but also wildlife.
Thank you.
All right. Any other comments? All right, you'll be voting on, I gotta get back to it. A resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a conservation grant with Puget Sound Energy. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that resolution passes. Mr. Ryan's the clerk's gonna bring up a slide deck for Mr. Ryan for our discussion item. Tremont 2 and 3 was discussed.
Point of order. How did that pass? 7-0.
7-0.
We appreciate her,
It's the offset cost that we already increased.
I think he was curious on why we pulled that off consent agenda for the unanimous decision.
No, I'm just curious, like,
Yeah, I think so.
yeah, why would you?
Mr. Mayor, I would request an executive session if this conversation is going to continue pursuant to legal risks of a proposed action.
I'm good.
Okay. All right.
Good.
So I'm ready to move on. So the clerk's going to bring up a slide deck related to Tremont 2 and 3 recommendation. This was studied multiple times at the Transportation Committee. They left their last meeting with a recommendation that agreeing with staff's recommendation, but after consulting with the planning department, we learned that the recommendation wasn't consistent with our comprehensive plan. So we've backed up here. We're bringing this back to the full council so we can wrap this up. And Mr. Ryan has a few slides to share with you on a solution that is mostly in line with what the recommendation was from the Transportation Committee and also consistent with our comprehensive plan. So Mr. Ryan, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to reiterate, we always want to do better. We listen, we hear, we do value engineering, we come up with good solutions, and here we are again. So this will be brief. Can I just go straight to the next slide? So right here you have your current conditions of Tremont 1. This is the widths of the bike lane, the travel lanes, the bike lanes, and that's current condition. The bottom picture there, that is what the potential Port Orchard Boulevard improvements could be someday. So just think of that multimodal pathway on the left side.
So
and then
going up the hill on Port Orchard Boulevard, we would take one of the travel lanes away to make a multimodal pathway. And if you look at, so the upper drawing is our current Tremont project, the 4-lane road where the roundabouts are, and it has a modest bike lane on both sides so the road with really no separation between the travel lanes, just paint. Go ahead.
Go to the next slide, please.
Yep.
And so this is what we came up with. This is what we are now proposing. Just please focus on that multimodal pathway. That is what we need to pursue our grant funding. So the extra wide multimodal pathway on the left, we've shifted the whole road. This is going to require an additional 1.25 feet of right of way. It does not impact any structures.
Over the other alternative, another foot and a half beyond the alternative that the Transportation Committee looked at. So what we have, because we're looking to get this grant funded, we need to have a multimodal pathway. And so you have on the north side of the street, from Port Orchard Boulevard to Sydney Avenue, you would have that multimodal pathway, a treed strip, and then the 4 lanes of traffic that we have today. And then we would need on the south side, an additional 18 inches of right of way to move the sidewalk back and then build a new sidewalk and then have the bike lane that's a little wider, but mostly consistent what we have as a current condition on Tremont, currently the other section of Tremont. Does that make sense?
We have that much room for pedestrian.
No, we'll be acquiring right of way to provide pedestrian improvements that don't exist on the north side of the road. And to get a grant, if we just built sidewalks there, we would have to do that completely with local dollars. While pursuing this opportunity will allow us to potentially get grant dollars to build that multimodal pathway on that side of the street.
No homes will be.
No homes will be purchased, but we will be acquiring right of way.
No eminent domain.
Well, eminent domain's how you acquire, how you purchase. Eminent domain's not there.
We're just making you aware of the body of work that the Transportation Committee, they were bringing this forward with a recommendation a week ago. And after that recommendation was made, we realized there was a fatal flaw in the recommendation because it wasn't compliant with our comprehensive plan, which is the bike lane on the right side of the screen or south side of the street. We need to have. You did not. Nobody did. The Transportation Committee did. They've seen it twice.
This is something
that came from Transportation. They were bringing it forward with a recommendation after they made their decision. We learned new information that it wasn't consistent with our comprehensive plan. And I've communicated this to the Transportation Committee that we'd be bringing this back forward with corrected.
they're the ones knowledgeable on everything that was discussed beforehand. Are they happy with this?
So I'll turn to these gentlemen two of these over here.
Go ahead.
I'm much happier with the design. I think, yes, can you hear me?
Nope.
I'm much happier with this design coming forward with having the bike lane on the south side. This was not an option we were looking at or we were provided a couple weeks back. I know myself, I'm sure there's a couple other council members on that committee that weren't terribly enthused about it. We were all looking for some consistency from what I consider the new Tremont roundabout section to the Sydney area. This provides that consistency. The one thing I'd like to ask though is we're talking now, we're not going to shift the road farther north. We're actually going to push the sidewalk farther south on the south side.
18 inches.
18 inches. Okay. But we will have consistency with the bike lane going from west of the bypass to Sydney, correct?
much happier. No. I think, does mine work?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. We actually reviewed with the consultants, 4 different options, and the south side option was not an option we had to more concentrate the pathway on the north side, because the south side is where the park is, the fire station. There's also a big natural gas above ground system that would have cost way too much money to do. If we would have cut even into the park with the elevation already to get down in there, that would have eliminated the parking. So all that was having to whittle it down to 2 options. But for me, the only option that's I would vote for is one that has the multi-pathway, so we can actually get the grant funding to pay for it. So I wasn't going to vote for anything that doesn't have that we're eligible for grant dollars to use to build it. Because if we don't, we're not going to do that. That's the back burner, not a priority. But if we can get the grant dollars, then it's more feasible for us to do the project. Am I correct on that, Mr. Mayor? All right.
There was extensive outreach to the neighborhood, and part of the reasoning for that pathway to be on the north side is it ties into the neighborhoods, and it'll tie in, and why we were showing you the reference to the boulevard. It allows it to tie in to the multimodal improvements on the boulevard and then back into the neighborhoods. And that was the desire of what we heard from the community in the outreach process.
Okay, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but during those discussions, I was advocating for a continuation of the current profile for Tremont, largely because it had bike lanes on both sides, and I wanted to be sensitive to a growing biking population and the potential for more commuting options. I just saw it as kind of not a good design to have that, and then they disappear, and then we should be growing those facilities. So I'm happy with this. It's about as wide a profile as we can get, and it provides for the multimodal. I think it's great that it's the south side that has the bike lane, because I think that's where you'll see, you could see more conflict with commuters heading back home if that was multimodal versus in the morning going the other direction on the multimodal as proposed on the north side. So I think this is a good compromise, and I think it's about as good as it gets.
All right, Councilmember Rosebuck, did you have something to add?
I did. I was hopeful that we'd see bike lanes on both sides. And unfortunately, that's not the case because of, restrictions, but at least we have bike lanes going in one direction. Just to let you know that the biking paths that show through Port Orchard come up Port Orchard Boulevard. So I'm really excited to see the previous slide, where you showed that we're doing the diet on Port Orchard Boulevard, that we're going to be keeping those bike lanes. So that's it's moving one step forward at a time.
One last thing. Go ahead, Heidi. Sorry. Oh, actually, Mr. Mayor can call on you, not me.
Go ahead. Either one. Go ahead.
I like what you said about the grant on that. The one thing, sometimes it would be nice where the picture, I'm sorry, maybe I'm just being picky here. The picture really matches up to that road. That doesn't, like, if it didn't say Tremont, I wouldn't even know where that street is, what we're doing. It's just nice if we're paying for someone like this, why don't they do our street?
We didn't pay anybody. Staff
used
a tool so that we didn't pay an engineering firm to do concepts.
Yeah.
It was in-house.
So one thing that is kind of unfortunate is the bridge, the Lund Bridge. That's really unfortunate because there's no room to put a bike path on that bridge. So you're going to have bike paths on Bethel, and then they're putting bike paths on Lund from the roundabouts there. And it would have been nice to be able to go to, Volunteer Park and just keep going on to the bridge. I guess share the road. I guess you can ride it, but there's not going to be bike paths on the bridge. So there's no room for that. That's the only real downfall that we kind of realized when we were looking at this, but
Councilman Morrissey?
Can you make sure this gets in print? Yes.
Yeah, we'll at least email it to you guys. There's a couple more slides, just some concepts for a roundabout at Sydney and Tremont intersection. And this is a tradition, and we're early in this, and we just want, this alternative is a traditional roundabout. And on the top left, the top corner and the bottom corner to the right, there are very steep slopes there. And this would be, we believe, expensive to build. And there's a alternative for a peanut that lives within the existing right of way. And staff is evaluating those two alternatives. And Brandy, go to the next slide and you'll see what a peanut looks like. And then we don't impact the homes on those two corners. We're not convinced this is the right solution. It is something that we're evaluating the cost benefit analysis of this versus the steep slopes and impacts to the homes on those two corners. So more to come on this. We're not married to any idea. We kind of need to know the costs for both approaches before staff makes a recommendation. So yes.
Question on the Sydney and Tremont, well, both those intersections. I mean, I live off of Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
That streetlight, I never get way backed up. So why are we spending a bunch of money on that roundabout?
Mayor, I could take that. This is a failing streetlight. It's problematic. It's one of our most costly maintenance. It is approaching. It's past the time that it should be totally replaced. So replacing a streetlight similar to this, you're at about $500,000.
And the traffic problem isn't north-south. It's the east-west on the 4-lane road. That's where the congestion. Once we have a roundabout at Bethel and Lund and the other roundabouts on having traffic lights on this corridor will be problematic. It's a future problem. We're just looking at what the future could look like.
I was just curious. Thanks.
You comment? Yes, no, maybe?
Well, I'm
wondering if this worked.
Yeah, again, I do live in this area, and there is a south traffic issue when the county campus lets out. There's a lot of people heading up Sydney and are caught at that light for 2, 3, 4 lights sometimes when they're trying to turn either direction or go straight through. So I do think this will be a traffic mover in the long run, but we are a long ways down the road.
Yes. Yeah. Just sharing some concepts. That's all it was. All right, we're going to move on. Now we are to council committee reports. Economic development and tourism. Have you met since our last council meeting? I don't know that you have. It was a question. I see utilities. Have you met since our given a report? You have not met. Finance did meet last week. Do you remember meeting?
Yeah, finance did meet for the first time this year. We reviewed sales tax and REIT revenues from the end of the year and then essentially January, which remains really efficient at this point. But for the year end, December sales tax, we were down about 10% over 2024. But the year 25. But again, thanks to some pretty conservative budgeting process. Now, revitalization grant program, a property at the business generally because and then we're kind of not really back all the way to the drawing board, but doing a little bit more discussing and finding out ways to contact more building owners. We discussed a recent cybersecurity grant award program, which we approved last week already. And I want to thank Sheldon and the IT group for bringing that forward. I think that's going to be beneficial to maybe and data we have here. We discussed policy usage, and the city's done a great job. They've created an implementation group, and they're looking at citywide process and council here, future. Employees done every 3 years, and it kind of runs in conjunction with the new union contracts. And so we discussed a couple of ideas on how we felt this would be best handled. And our next meeting is scheduled for March 17th, where we'll all be wearing green because that's St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, when we're here.
That's what I hear. All right, so on to the mayor's report. Let's see. No, I'm sorry. There's one more committee, land use.
Most of the big topics we had, Nick covered with permittable AI. A couple items that we did discuss were landscaping updates, taking a look to see if the middle housing landscaping will be the same as detachable housing landscaping. More to follow on that. We're also looking, Nick talked about the plat processing, how that's, you use the word take away from the city council. I don't think that's quite it. I think it's more like moving it to the to DCD the staff. But the big one is permit software. For those of us who were here a while ago, we moved to Cameo years ago, and we're looking at doing an update. And I'll ask Nick to talk about that for a second. So that may be also a help in our permitting software going to SmartGov. And those were the main items that we talked about. Unless you have anything you wanted to add.
Okay. Mr. Bond is going to talk about process improvement in his director's report. Lodging tax, I doubt you have anything. Sewer advisory, anything to report? Okay, and the ad hoc committee, is there anything to? Okay, a meeting coming in March. On to the mayor's report. So our town hall meetings, 2 of the dates and the locations are reserved. So we've got April 9th and a room reserved at McCormick Woods, and June 4th at the Gathered. We can. Randy could. You send an email to that effect for those 2 dates and the locations? 6 p.m.
6 p.m. for both.
Both those 2. And I haven't gotten to the September date yet, but I felt it was important to get those 2. We really need to make a decision whether we're going to construction on Bay Street or not. The business community downtown is nervous. What's happening? What's not going to happen? Well, here's what I know. Okay. We've been awarded $3.5 million from Senator Cantwell's office. We don't have our funding agreement yet. We've been bugging people. That federal process to the state, to us, is slow. Okay. We have $1 million that we got last year from the legislature for construction. And what I've confirmed through our lobbyist is we have until June 30th. We should make our best effort to have, we for sure have to be obligated and under construction. And we should try to have all of that money spent by June 30th. And if we go to construction, we'll definitely be underway. We might be a little bit challenged to get it all spent, but she's comfortable that won't get clawed back, if we've got a contract. I lean towards delaying a year, but I don't have all the information to make a good decision. And we either have to go to bid or wait a year. Because if we can't wait if we're going to go to construction this year, we really can't wait any longer. And if we go to construction this year, we will forego that $3.5 million. And I don't think that's the right decision either. So see my quandary, and anybody opposed to us going to construction on the road next year, I guess is the question.
Well,
2027.
That would be 2027, and we would construct the community center and the Orchard Street Plaza likely at the exact same time. Yes, sir.
my concern is with previous conversations, by doing that, we would be bumping Bethel out.
That
should be shared in the decision making.
Yeah, that is that. You're correct. We talked about that at transportation. I forgot about that. Yeah, I mean, there's only so many staff members to manage projects, and I think talking to and they're funded from different sources. Yes, it would be virtually impossible for us to construct a community center, a road down here, and then the impacts to the community. You still got to be able to drive around in our community. We were going to be pressed to get all the right-of-way acquired. We're just starting the right-of-way process on Bethel. We would be really pressed to go to construction next year on Bethel. We might be able to do it, but it would probably actually give some relief to staff and to be honest, right now, we only have two of our four engineers. So
for Bethel, it might be a might, but it's a for sure.
If we go to construction next year on this road down here, I don't believe we can handle two $10+ million construction projects in the city at the same time. To 2028, correct.
That have any impact on Anderson?
Anderson's still under design, and believe, I know you're going to find this hard to believe, it's costing more than we thought before, but about $1 million more. So
I evaluate fiscally responsible.
yeah, and I think to answer that question, I think it's to gather the federal dollars, and because we can claw back our local dollars out of the Bay Street projects and redeploy those to other projects that we have, and we have plenty of needs. So just didn't want to make a decision in a vacuum without talking to you guys and talking it through.
Well, and then having, this coming summer, the road won't affect the businesses because
Yeah.
it's going to go in 2027 for downtown.
No effect
That's
on that year.
good.
No effect on
It is
next
delayed. It is actually the desire of the downtown businesses for us to wait a year.
Yeah.
That's the feedback I've received from them. Okay.
Have no potential of losing any grant money by delaying it either.
Is provided we go to construction, go out to bid as we're discussing internally, November, December, and a year from now, we're under construction and spending that $1 million as fast as we can from the state. All right. All right. Decision time. Some of you weren't here last week, and we had a presentation on the interior lettering. This is the only place we got hung up. Scott got back to me. I was 2-2 on black or silver. Scott said black. It's decisions they made. The letters are black. Two of you wanted silver. So, all right. We were hung up on that. All right. I came to last week's meeting about 3 o'clock last Tuesday. I thought it's up with the library and their foundation going to be handling the philanthropic giving aspect, the fundraising aspect of it. And for legal reasons, they determined it wouldn't be advisable for them to do that because it could affect the foundation staff. So I have made contact with Kitsap Community Foundation and the executive director over there. He's on vacation this week, but we had some really good conversations last week. They are willing to do this for us. And they're asking for 1% of the gross. So whatever they pay for us, they get their fee for this is 1%. We identified identified a grant opportunity that closes March 13th. She'd like to pursue. So I'm moving pretty quickly. I would like to in 2 weeks bring back. Charlie's looking at their draft agreement. The finance director is like, I've got some language I want him to look at. But I'd like to bring that back to you guys in a couple of weeks. We lack the capacity and we don't have a 501c3 ourselves. So we either need to forego this opportunity or roll the dice with, I believe, Kitsap Community Foundation. She believes she can raise a few $1 million for us. And I think we should try it. So
1% of the gross is an awesome opportunity. So I would strongly support this pending an agreement coming before council.
Yeah, I spoke with the mayor earlier today on this subject, and I was looking for some teeth in some of this, and I had thrown something out earlier. I'd like to amend what I had told you earlier in the day, Mr. Mayor, and maybe tier what they get based off of their results. So for every $1 million, they get an additional 1%. Maybe there's, instead of looking at it from the hammer aspect, maybe there's a carrot aspect to that, to try to drive that. If they made our whole delta, what would that be any skin off our back, right? Because that's not $5 or $6 million that we had planned for this today. So I would respectfully like to throw in the opportunity to tier that based off of the results. That's a good idea.
All right. Everybody kind of comfortable with that concept?
I'm still shocked by 1%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is in the mayor's report. Did you give us information on the email about this?
No,
We just talked about it.
we just had a conversation earlier today about it.
Okay, so it's interesting. You do the mayor's report and then we're like voting on it.
You're not voting on anything.
We're just agreeing.
No.
Oh,
I
okay.
Councilmember Morrissey threw an idea out.
Okay, well, we did vote on the black or white lettering. I didn't know that. I didn't know we were supposed to do it.
We didn't vote. We voted last week. He's updating us on.
Two council members were absent and it was tied. Two of you wanted, John was somewhat indifferent. Two of you wanted silver, two of you wanted black. You and Councilmember Dedman wanted black. Councilmember Trenary, Councilmember Warden wanted silver, and the two other so we're tied. So I had two council members that didn't vote, and I asked that.
Mail to them, and then they got.
They gave me their input. We're just trying to put a bow on it and finish that process up with the consultant. All right. So on the legislative session, there's some good stuff going on. The water intertie that we've been asking for $1 million. The House budget has $1 million in it. The Senate budget has $450. Somewhere in the middle probably lies what we'll get, and as they reconcile the two budgets. And I hope everybody's sitting down, but the Senate budget has $8 million for two roundabouts at Sedgwick Road and Highway 16. There's no money though in the House budget. So, we'll see what happens. Yeah, it's going on right now. It is. All right. So, gosh, we had a lot of people here earlier, and I want to acknowledge, I know we have challenges in our building department. Permit volumes continue to exceed manageable levels. We continue to hire staff, but we've also outgrown the processes we have in place. And DCD Director Bond plans to address process improvements in his staff report, so I won't dive into that. I encourage. We've been doing some outreach. I encourage all project applicants to take advantage of our pre-application meetings, and for small business to meet with our team before they sign leases. It's really important. And from our recently adopted mission, values, vision statements, our mission that we've adopted is to deliver exceptional public service, ensure safety, enhance quality of life, and continuously improve. And we're committed to that. So I know things are broken, and I know that we need to fix them. So that concludes my mayor's report. And we'll get on to staff reports, if I can find my agenda. Department directors. Mr. Ryan, do you have anything to share?
Just a couple brief items. Last week, we presented to West Sound Utilities about starting the process of negotiating MOU for augmentation station for Foster pilot project. Next week, we meet with both the Suquamish and the Squaxin Island. We are hopeful our next step will be negotiating the side agreement towards our final Foster submittal. So that's it for tonight.
Nothing for you? Mr. Bond, what do you got?
All right, I've got two announcements. I'll take the shorter one first. Our parking enforcement vehicle has died, and we have been looking at replacing that with one of our existing vehicles and putting a license plate reader system in the vehicle that would help us with writing parking tickets. And so we're working on a contract right now that is likely to come before the city council at the second meeting of March to pay for that expenditure. We had a vehicle programmed already in the ER&R fund to replace the parking vehicle. And so I believe Director Crocker will have to prepare a budget amendment for this expenditure, but this is going to greatly streamline our parking enforcement process by allowing our enforcement folks to drive around without having to get out of their car or stick the chalk stick out of the car. They will take digital photos of tires to figure out whether cars have moved or not, and we'll be able to print tickets digitally rather than handwriting them on a triplicate copy of a parking ticket. So,
and just to clarify, the LPR system was already brought and approved by the council during the mid-biennial review, so there is money in the budget for that.
And I think there was some discussion about what the parking code could look like, and maybe there might be some revisions, so I can see if we could tie those together.
Yeah, they will. That'll have to happen because this technology will work different than anything we're doing right now.
Am I mistaken? I thought the code, you are not supposed to mark a tire. I thought that wasn't okay.
We've been chalking tires as long as I've known us to do parking enforcement.
Something, maybe I'll look it up, but I heard that you're not supposed to chalk the tire.
We won't be soon.
Well, I thought that was already.
No, I don't believe so. Okay. Mr.
All right. So the second discussion I wanted to have, and I just wanted to present my plan to the city council for how we're going to fix processes in our permit center. And I wish there were things in the building code that are difficult and that we are required to enforce. And I can't change the building code. That's up to the state. But we do control our process for how we operate our system. And last year in Q3, we did a process improvement exercise where we had the state auditor's office come out. They offer a free process improvement lean workshop where they come and map out your process. I gave a presentation to the city council shortly after that process last year, and we identified a ton of process waste. We identified bottlenecks in our system. For instance, we have two permitting software platforms. Camino is how we take permits into the city, and then SmartGov is how we manage our workflow, and those two systems don't talk to one another. There's a ton of duplication of data entry. The payment system for how permits are paid for is challenging. We have a almost paper and email utility work order process for getting meter drops ordered for houses. So we identified all kinds of things that needed to be fixed. We boiled it down to our top 3 priorities. We identified several very easy, low-hanging fruit type fixes, but the big challenge, the elephant in the room, was our permit software and our limitations based on what we have configured today. And so I want to talk about our permit software. We did 2 separate surveys. We first surveyed city employees who use the permit software to ask them about their openness to changing things and their experiences with the software. And universally, staff is supportive of making changes to our system. We then separately, I did outreach through the Kitsap Building Association, and we sent a survey to our most frequent applicants to ask them for feedback on our permit system. And so the feedback that we received, the Camino system, our application portal, actually got very high marks from the few people who responded to our survey. There aren't a ton of people who apply regularly, but they felt like it was easy to use and that people feel assured that they're submitting the correct information. However, the feedback on SmartGov mostly the negative feedback was about features that SmartGov has that we're not currently using. And so I felt like the negative feedback was more about things that we need to turn on rather than flaws with the system. Kitsap County, for reference, they use both of these systems, but they've built a custom IT bridge. I think they spent about $60,000 to build something that if the software changes, they have to update and they have to manage. And that seemed outside of our capabilities on our limited IT department and hiring a consultant. So we are, we heard from our applicants that there's 5 things they want above all else. And number one, first and foremost, is they want to be able to see what their permit status is in the digital system. Right now, they are calling the department and asking, where's my permit, rather than being able to see a status online. They want to know who is assigned their review and what the estimated time for completing the review is. They want to be able to pay their fees online, and they also want to be able to track what's been paid on each permit and be able to look that up within the permit system. And then they want a centralized document management system where once they've uploaded documents, they can go and figure out what they provided previously and have a sort of a record that's visible to them of what's been submitted and what hasn't. So all of those things are available in both SmartGov and Camino. It's just a matter of which system we would build out. We have decided that SmartGov is probably going to serve the 97% of our users better, because most people who frequently apply for permits know exactly what they need to do. And Camino actually makes you jump through a bunch of hoops to get to the correct information. So I think Camino works for the few users that are novice users and is maybe more helpful to them. SmartGov, I think if you know that you want to apply for a residential alteration permit, you check the box residential alteration and you fill out your application and upload your materials. I had my management team, we all went to various cities and created accounts and created dummy permits just to test out systems and really try to stand in the applicant's shoes and understand what they experience as they view these systems. Our conclusion was that SmartGov is a better user interface. It's more intuitive, I think, for users, and it is also the least amount of work for the city to build out compared to pivoting fully to the Camino system. So what we plan to launch, we are looking at launching our public-facing application portal in SmartGov, which would mean that we turn the Camino system off going forward sometime later this year once people have the ability to apply through SmartGov. This portal is going to allow applicants to upload their materials directly into SmartGov rather than having to use Camino, and then our staff is manually transferring files over to the SmartGov system for plan review. One of the benefits of the portal is that the public, people who aren't involved in the permitting process, can actually go on a map, see what permits are pending. They can click on addresses or look up permit information and actually access all of the permit documents. So if you hear that there's a rezone on Hull Avenue, you would be able to go pull the file directly from our permit system without having to do a records request through the city. The next feature we're going to implement, and this was something that was actually included in Council's 2026 mid-year budget review, was launching the payment portal for SmartGov. And this will basically allow, once somebody has used the portal to upload their materials, the permit fees will be calculated automatically and they can pay with a credit card directly through the permitting system. And so that currently we are generating an invoice in SmartGov that has to be brought to the finance department so that they can create the invoice in the financial system, and then the payment can be processed, and then that receipt has to be brought back to DCD, whether that's done through our electronic payment system and then emails, or whether somebody is physically walking between the buildings. That's a major inconvenience for our applicants, and we are looking to fix that. The portal will also provide applicants with status updates so that they know which reviewers have completed their works and which reviewers are still pending. We are, I'll talk about this in a minute, but we also want to mitigate. We don't want, one of the reasons that we try not to say who is currently reviewing your permit is because then they get hounded by applicants saying, where's my permit? And then that employee can't actually get their plan reviews done. So we are going to put that information on the website, but I have a little bit more information about that later. The other feature in SmartGov that we're going to turn on is our centralized review comments, where we create deficiency reports in SmartGov rather than using these Word document comment matrices, which some of the commenters tonight said that they really didn't like that process. This means that everybody who does plan review is entering their comments into SmartGov, and then that report gets generated in SmartGov and is available both online, but also can be emailed through SmartGov to the applicant. And it's just there are fewer steps and less document management involved in that process. And then finally, just being able to submit revisions and updating files through SmartGov by uploading documents directly into SmartGov. Currently, we're using Dropbox. We're sending things via email. There's a ton of back and forth through the email system that would hopefully go away once SmartGov is up and running and people can upload documents directly into that system. So I mentioned, one of our concerns with the permit status updates is we don't want our engineers getting phone calls and emails throughout the day asking about permit status. We are planning to, I'm planning to outline this plan on our website, but I also want to add information on the website about our performance targets. And so we are going to publish targets for first round of review on our website so that if you apply for a commercial alteration, you will know that the city's target is that you'll have a first round review within 4 weeks. After we have data on our actual performance relative to those review targets, we will then say that we're meeting this target, 75% of the time, and that our median review is maybe 5.5 weeks. But at least we're telling the people what to expect. So hopefully they aren't constantly calling our staff asking where their permits are, because they are going to know who's actually doing the review. That first round of review is going to vary depending on permit types. Single family reviews will be much faster. The land use permits and utility work orders and then commercial building permits are going to take longer to complete that first round of review. But at least we're being transparent with the public and saying this is what you can expect, and it will be published on our website. So this is some of these items, as I mentioned, were budgeted in 2026, the financial connector, and we also budgeted quite a bit of staff training for SmartGov in 2026. But with the changes that we're planning to make to the system, we're going to wait on staff training until the end of the year because we want to train people how to use the fully configured system rather than doing a refresh on the current configuration of the system. We are going to be asking the council to fund the cost associated with configuring these features. We are going to have to get a scope and a fee from SmartGov for them providing technical assistance to get those features configured for the city. We were hoping to bring on potentially a temporary employee with experience doing this sort of work, but that person has said that they're planning to retire and they're doing their last project currently for Kitsap County. So we're targeting the end of 2026 to get the public portal launched and to activate all of these features, although some of these features are going to be released sooner than that as they're available. And as we make these changes, it's going to be really important for us to do outreach to the community and engage with the community by providing instructional videos and information on the changes to our system so that they understand how the application process works going forward. And so that'll include checklists, informational sheets, videos as we launch those new features. So I just wanted to share this plan with the City Council before I share it publicly on our website and make sure that the council is supportive of this approach. And again, this is really focused on our department's process and trying to make things as efficient as possible so that our staff is doing less rework and is more available to do customer support as people need assistance with their projects.
Okay. Quick questions for Mr. Bond, because we've got about 3 minutes left before we have to extend the meeting.
Just wanted to ask, Nick, at one point there was a super user group of SmartGov jurisdictions from around the nation that would meet and they would talk through problem issues. I don't know if that group still exists, but it'd be worth maybe checking.
Yeah, we are still on. We still attend those periodically, and I believe there's a county user group in Kitsap as well as, or maybe it's in the state of Washington as well as a national one.
All right.
Quick question. Okay, I like all that computer stuff and everything you're doing. What I heard a lot from the people tonight is the in-person inspection. How are we going to work on that when the in-person inspection comes and they get all these setbacks?
Well, I think these are separate issues. And so, as I mentioned, there are building code requirements in state law that we can't change that we are required to enforce. But my hope is that by fixing our processes and really freeing up staff capacity through process improvements, we are more able, we have the time and staff resources to hold people's hand when they need that assistance as small business owners trying to start their business. I think that process improvement, this is something that is within our control. If people want the building codes or the requirements of the building codes to change, that is something that has to be done through the State Building Code Council.
I understand that.
Okay, so, Ms. Hart, okay, quickly.
But I guess my question also is, a lot of people were complaining about getting, let's say, a set of 3 comments and then later on being told that they have to fix 15 different things. Do you think that implementing SmartGov is going to help change that?
I think that, in terms of having multiple rounds of review, we get a variety of quality of applications that comes in, and some applications, the first round of review, there will be conflicting information even about things as basic as what is the use that is proposed within this building, or you'll have one document that says this is going to be a certain occupancy classification, but then there's a reference to some other thing. And our first comments are, you need to figure out what the use is so that we can actually review your plans. So I think that the number of rounds of review is often linked to the quality of the initial submittal. And so we can really, we've already started doing this outreach specifically with small businesses, because we're seeing this a lot with tenant improvement projects where you have people that are entrepreneurs, they know how to run a business, but they don't know how to go through a permitting process and they don't know the building codes. And so we're trying to make sure that we're meeting with those folks early in the process to help identify these issues for them, so that they're submitting the correct information. Sorry, was there another part of the question that I haven't answered? Yeah, I think sorry, I think it will help just by freeing up our staff to be more available. I think we are stretched really thin right now because our process is very inefficient, and much of our process, when I started at the city in 2013, we were doing 100 single family homes a year, and maybe every few years we had an apartment project, and we are doing hundreds of apartments a year and 250 to 350 houses a year. And the volume is vastly different, and it has outgrown our process. And in terms of our technology, we need to implement those tools to be able to handle this workload.
And we need to, go ahead.
Make a motion that we extend our meeting 5 minutes.
It has to be more than that. They're 3. They're 3 each.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second to extend our meeting by 10 minutes. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Better not be. Meeting is extended. All right, you got a question for Mr. Bond?
One thing to add, and I'm not here at dogpile. I'm a code enforcer inspector for a living, 30 plus years of this. I get it. But what I haven't had in 30 plus years, not one time, is language or tone. Not once have I ever had a complaint or a concern over language and tone. And that's almost everybody out there has that issue. That's not any of the top 5 processes. That's not a process. That's just customer service, how we deal with people. And people come across and they scream and they'll be upset. But we have to be able to handle that because we are a service-based, that's what we do. No taxpayer, I don't work for any taxpayers, but they do pay my wage. And I do perform a service for them. And I meet with people all the time, and it's almost always the same thing. So we can't buy software for that, so maybe we can, I don't know, have a little workshop on, some customer service or some tolerance. If someone speaks to you incorrectly, you don't fire it back. I don't know, but whatever you do in your department, I don't oversee any staff. I don't, when they come up here and talk, they're talking to all of us. but we don't have anything that we can do. I don't want to keep throwing money at something. We'll do it where it's needed, but I don't want to keep throwing money at something. So the things that we can handle is what I kind of just mentioned, you know? So that's all.
Correct. And I just want to respond to that comment. That this is well taken feedback that I believe that Director Bond and legal staff
sat there and worked.
Absolutely, yeah, and we appreciate hearing from the council that you all support our staff and that the message they're delivering is a very challenging one for a lot of folks. So that is a very delicate balance, and we are working on both sides of that. So
100%.
thank you.
And that also, I just wanted to say, one of the other things we'll be putting on the website is we outline our plan, our implementation for a plan for process improvements. We are putting a special email address so that if people have permit issues, they can contact us directly so that I can investigate those and, look into and make sure that the facts are straight and that the communication, that there isn't something that's being lost in communication, because I think in a lot of these instances, there are, I guess, there are a lot of different, I think that I'm hearing one thing from building department, I'm hearing another thing from the public, and then I'm hearing third parties say a third thing, and the truth is somewhere in between. And so it takes a lot of time to dig in and actually get to the truth.
I appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, Ms. Archer.
Nothing to report.
All right, Ms. Wallace. All right. Thank you, Ron, for being patient. I'm certain you wanted to address the council. So we are to our second citizen comment period. All right. And Jennifer, I'm certain you want to tell us about your new home.
Oh. Thanks, Don.
Oops, I'm sorry. I got the microphone. Well, but then we don't capture your comment.
I guess I'm the last of the thundering herd that was here earlier. And when I came in here, I was sitting there and I noticed the sign on the wall says, "Imagine Port Orchard." Well, in 2000, I ran for city council because I was imagining Port Orchard. And I got to tell you, not much has changed. We're at a point where the city collects record permit fees to allow people with a dream to build a home or a business. And this city finds more and more excuses to put obstacles in the ways of these dreams coming to fruition. I was encouraged by some of the things I heard here tonight, the mayor talking about, we realize we have a problem. So that's the best first step. And gentlemen over here talking about new processes that are going to speed up permits. That's necessary too. But the same mentality I fought when I was a council member from 2000 to 2004 was I told the mayor, the planners, city council, code enforcement, I believed it was our imperative duty to help streamline the process for those people that have a dream. It wasn't our job to get out here and put up roadblocks and obstructionist policies to stop people in their tracks. At the time I was on council, I was approached by many builders saying, what is going on with code enforcement? They come out, look at a project, and they give me a fix-it list. So I fix it all, and they come back and hand me a new one. This isn't the way to encourage people to invest in our city and to make improvements here. It's not just homeowners, but it's business owners. And so I made a note here. Imagine the idea of selling your home with the idea of building a new one here in the city and having to spend a bunch of money renting a house for a year while you're waiting for a permit to come through. Or you got a business loan to start your business, and due to all the obstructions and constant, no, you got to do this, you got to do that, and added expenses and time incurred, most of their business loan goes to fighting the city. Or imagine somebody I talked to saying it took 3 permits and fees to get their garage door replaced. It's just insanity. Something needs to change. And I hope that these new AI projects are going to make a difference, because we're making Port Orchard feel like there's a closed sign, do not enter, don't bother, we're not interested. We're not showing people concern for their ideas and their plans. We're letting them know that we don't want to help you. Don't waste your time. And that's, you know, I've been living in Port Orchard for 50 years, downtown for over 30. And I'm not too much in the process of permits or anything anymore, but I hear a lot from people that are having to deal with this stuff. And I don't get too involved with city processes and what's going on, but I felt it imperative that I came down and shared my ideas on this. I got it, but I'm almost done. Mark my words, unless there's drastic change in attention to our common concerns, I'll support and campaign for anybody who is tired of working harder for the city than the city appears to be working for us. Since you, I'll just wrap this up. I would like to ask a member of council to offer a motion to respond to the many concerns that have been expressed and to send a response or corrective on corrective actions that will be implemented and how long it's going to take. And the faster new policies are implemented is the most crucial for the people dealing with failing policies to realize that you guys actually care. So I can't do anything but encourage that things need to change, or there's going to be change coming to Port Orchard.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for your comments, Ron. All right, good of the order. Is there anything we've got? No time left. We are adjourned.
We do have 2 members of the public, though. Did you want to give them the opportunity?
Is there someone else online? Okay. If there's someone online wishing to.
So we need another motion to extend, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we'll see if is there a hand raised?
If you are interested, use *9 and raise your hand.
Okay, meeting is adjourned.